Thank you for watching Fireside. If you enjoyed this podcast, consider liking and subscribing to be notified when future episodes release. Enjoy. Hello and welcome everybody to another episode of Fireside. Today I have a second time return visitor to Fireside, someone I'm sure most of my viewers are very well aware of, someone who is often called the CEO of MMOs, someone who has made a name for themselves, a cottage industry out of commenting about games, MMOs usually, in all kinds of funny and insightful manners, ways, and so on. Today with me, again, I have Mr. Idyl. Welcome to Fireside.
Wow. I can't believe I get to be here twice before I've had you on my podcast even once.
Yep. Which podcast is that? I want to shout that one out.
It's patreon.com/idle. And there you can put on your own podcast and listen to that while you give me money.
Folks, you heard him here first, okay?
I mean, that's any podcast you can imagine.
Yes, literally yes, 100%. And I want to say this too to everybody tuning in here. This is an even more unscripted than usual episode since we pretty much don't have a lot of topics to go through. But I feel like we haven't spoken like via voice. I mean, we talk in DMs like daily, but via voice, we have not caught up on a lot of like the newest MMO news. So I feel like it's something, or just game news in general. It's something worth chatting about. So for anybody who's wondering, like, wow, this is a bit more scattered than usual, even that's probably why. Yeah.
Yeah, we do talk pretty much every day. Yeah, but I don't think we've actually done a voice chat since the last time we did Fireside. I think that's actually the last time we did a voice chat.
Yes. Yep. And there's been a lot of things happening since then, because that was like months ago. That was I recorded that before Fireside even became Fireside on the second channel. So it's been a lot of stuff has happened, both in RuneScape, in World of Warcraft, kind of, but not really. And also just other MMOs. We had Ghost Crawler, Greg Street's MMO was canned, New World was canned, and my video that came out about New World saying how hopeful I am for the future of New World came out 2 days before it was canned. So there's a lot of stuff happened in MMOs. Do you want to just give like a quick rundown of your thoughts and feelings about this genre that's definitely not on its last legs?
Dude, I have, and I try not to put this sentiment out there too much, because I think it contributes to what's happening to MMOs, is the doomer viewpoint that seems to drown out any sort of excitement for any game, period, whether it's new or old. It's been tough to watch. Like you said, going back to Ghost Crawler's MMO shutting down it's not even accurate. It didn't launch really. The New World debacle, which the news only got worse. They committed to running it through 2026, and boy, did they mean only that. It's shutting down officially in January of next year, and it's already delisted. You already can't get it anymore, which is crazy to me how fast New World fell after a pretty successful season launch. It's been really, really tough for me to get excited about anything going on in the industry at large. And like I said, I don't want to put that out there too much, because I don't want that to be the only thing people think of when they think of MMOs. But it's you kind of see it everywhere. Like anytime anyone talks about a new MMO, I saw people hiring news for the Riot MMO, the much maligned Riot MMO at this point, and people were just like overwhelmingly negative, which I get. It's just like, it's sad, but I want to keep some form of optimism going, just to hopefully pray for the comeback.
So I just want to, not a prediction as much as a statement and or a threat, depending on how you want to interpret it. If the Riot MMO is announced and it's a gacha game, I will stop making YouTube videos and make videos about, like, I'll start vlogging. I'll start vlogging my day-to-day life of me sitting at home playing RuneScape. I swear to God, I will.
Dude,
so
that's a niche. That's a niche right there. Daily vlogs of playing RuneScape.
Yeah. That's essentially a Let's Play channel that can last indefinitely, but yeah.
Man, there's this guy who's made my recommended so much. He had a video kind of pop off called The Classic Experience. And I watched it because I thought, video essay. and you know me, I love a good hour long. It's an hour long video, so it's like an hour long video essay on a game I've played extensively. Like hell yeah, confirm my bias. It turns out it's like a let's play of classic WoW. He's like 4 episodes in, and I've been I've been weirdly liking it. It's been really comforting. He's got a monotone voice, like Mad Season style, and he just plays World of Warcraft Classic. I think the Let's Play needs to make a comeback as long as Minecraft YouTubers aren't allowed to do it.
Yes, I think we've had enough Minecraft YouTubers, honestly. Objectively speaking, we've had enough Minecraft YouTubers in our midst. When it comes to, general like let's plays of MMOs, I feel like they're kind of a, I don't know. I mean, maybe this is mean to say, but I feel like a let's play ought to end at some point, and I feel like with MMOs, it inherently just kind of peters out, right? Is that not the correct way to say it?
Yeah, I mean, like, what are you gonna do? Like, I feel like classic WoW might be a good one to do it for because I think it's fair to end it at level 60, vanilla WoW specifically, because there's so many World of Warcrafts. Um, like you ended at 60, it's like cool, it doesn't end any point, but like yeah, if you're doing progress videos in old school RuneScape, which used to be like that used to be a big deal. I made progress videos on what was then just RuneScape back in like 2010, and it's like it would just keep going. You do them every week, and there'd just be like there's no end in sight because the game is a grind fest. It is weird, and like yeah, it's kind of weird to have a thing that will not have a beginning, middle, and end. Like it'll have a beginning, and that's kind of it. Which is why I think it's total like not really a tangent, but you've seen that in RuneScape series now so much more, where clear end goals are defined. And I think like Settled obviously is the most notable example with Swampletics, who had from the beginning the set goal of beating the Theater of Blood in Mauritania only gear. Correct me if I'm wrong if that wasn't only the beginning. Is that
I think that
wasn't
was
from the
like
beginning?
that was like a couple episodes in, because I and correct me if I'm wrong because I didn't play the game at the time, but I'm pretty sure TB wasn't out when Swampletics was created.
That could be true because Swampletics is pretty old now,
I'm
and
checking this
Todd
right
came out
now.
like what 2019 was Todd 2019.
2018, I believe. Here you
It's
go.
definitely
Swampletics,
possible.
Mauritania locked. I am sorry if someone just heard me write that, guys, or click that, but because I just played the first second of the original video. December 21st, 2018 was the first Swampletics video. So no, I think Top was out. I think Top was out.
Yeah. But I think you've seen because of creators like Settled having
Yeah.
huge series with clear end goals. You've seen like almost like a narrative form in RuneScape series, which is funny for me starting RuneScape YouTube. Like in some form or another, I didn't stick with it. I took like huge breaks back when it was just like aimless progress series, and like trust me, there was nothing unique. Like I was a main. The I people weren't really playing Iron Man to my knowledge in 2009, 2010. So it's been interesting for that reason. That's like it's the evolution of the Let's Play, just having a series.
And not to cut you off, but there's something very comforting about like update videos and stuff, and just general like vibe based series. Then again, I don't think unless you're a new player doing like the unguided or Mad Season thing. Shout out to both of them. Had unguided on. Never spoken to Mad Season before, but been watching his content. He makes his man his RuneScape series is just something super super special. Like it's so interesting because, and not this is gonna, I'm already going to a whole different thing, so my apologies, but like unguided and which is alien food, and Mad Season, two different vibes. You think they'd be the same thing, but they're really not. And the main reason for that is because alien food has experience with RuneScape. Mad Season has never ever played RuneScape before, so what ends up happening is Mad Season's like perspective of the game is filtered through his experience with World of Warcraft, other MMOs, other games he's played. He is figuring out RuneScape, and it's the perfect example of how non-translatable the skills from other MMOs are to RuneScape. It just does not transpose itself at all.
It's so funny because I've watched a lot of Mad Season's videos. Obviously, he's a very very heavily World of Warcraft, but he's done videos on like Star Wars Galaxies and like WoW Killers and all that. And he's talked about like his experience playing those games, and I always think the same thing where I'm like, these RuneScape is so different. It's on such a different not level, but like wavelength entirely. Like it's a different genre almost from the most mainstream Western MMOs. So you're like absolutely right. all this guy was such an experienced MMO player, like one of the more hardcore classic players, one of the more hardcore vanilla players when it was around. He just can't use any of that. Like
And
it's all useless. Any concept you have of how like updates work, even like how the game will change, is completely different. It's really fun to watch.
it's like I will say right now, it is my favorite ongoing series right now. Is watching his RuneScape journey. It's just so entertaining. There's just so many like nuggets of like it's demonstrative of the worst and best parts of old school RuneScape all simultaneously. And I love watching and talking to the developers who are looking at this series as like a blueprint for some of the points to fix and some of the things to keep. Um, I loved, like, for example, I think that he and a couple other unguided, some of the WoW creators too, like the streamers, come in. Now we have so much cool new onboarding features for OSRS. Like the new skill menus that they just released like a week ago, as of this recording, are so good. They're so well done and they're so intuitive. Like I started playing the game a year and a half, 2 years ago at this point. It's a different vibe in the early game, in that like how much more information you have access to without resorting to the wiki and stuff. Like, have you seen those new skill guides?
I haven't, but I mean, I read. I don't know why. I haven't played RuneScape in a while, but I read the updates every time, so
Yeah, of
I'm
course.
aware of them.
Like they have every quest that gives an experience reward of the skill on the skill guide now. There's different tabs. They explain to you how to actually do something in the skill, which is helpful for skills like Slayer, which are complete nonsense to people that have never engaged with this game before. Or like, I mean, Matt Season figured out farming, and I'm like, props to you. That's crazy. Runecraft, he has not figured out herblore as of this or hunter as of this video, but or this podcast episode, but it's been entertaining. His most recent video, and I won't spoil it because it's on his members upload right now, but he discovers barrows, and it goes about how you expect. It's incredibly entertaining. So shout out to Matt Season for truly keeping that fresh let's play vibe with no preceding context alive and well on his channel. It's super cool.
I think what a lot of people didn't understand in like 2006, when there was like the most one-sided rivalry of any one-sided rivalry, but it existed. There were YouTube videos even back then of people doing RuneScape versus World of Warcraft, and I watched those videos, and every time World of Warcraft would win because it looked better, it played more smoothly, it was just a more traditional like game, and it felt like a game more than RuneScape did. I think what people don't understand, and what like the unguided people get and are transmitting vicariously to the viewers, is how magical RuneScape was because of how technologically limited it was. The complete lack of any sort of group chatting system. Like, we didn't have a clan chat back then. I was having a sleepover the night clan chat came out. And for the record, what's now known as friends chat. It wasn't the clan system that we know today. Like, there was no way to group talk to each other. You had to be either next to each other, or you had to be doing one-on-one conversation in private messages. Information traveled so slowly in that game. Not just like, oh, the internet was different, but no, in RuneScape specifically, being so technologically deficient, it traveled so slowly that we were all pretty much playing unguided. The Rune HQ and Zybez guys, which were both fan sites that had original quest guides on there, they were full of just straight up mistakes, or were just wrong, or would, like, some of them had the cheat pages that told you that if you did the dance emote in front of the cook's room, the cook's kitchen in the Lumbridge Castle 5 times in a row, you would get a genie random event. Like, the way that you could not communicate in that game, and a bunch of other technological limitations, made it so we were all to a degree playing unguided. And for that reason, I discovered Barrows with my friends once again at a sleepover, and the way we did it wasn't by figuring out the mechanics. 3 of us would come with an inventory full of lobsters. 1 would come in gear to do combat, and we would just trade more lobsters to the person who was going, and then we'd go bank, restock, and like come back to give them more food so that they could beat one of the brothers. It was such a magical place, in part to how badly, like, I don't want to say badly designed, but like how behind it was. So whenever people try to do like comparisons of like, well, what makes RuneScape good versus these other MMOs, it's like, yeah, you had to be there at that point. And thank God we're not at that point anymore. Thank God it's actually like a good game now. But it was so magic, and I see that magic when I watch people play Unguided. Like, it's such a confusing web of a game, and it's
Yeah,
beautiful.
it's a lot. I love talking about it because there's so much like to unpack every time you talk about RuneScape, right? Like WoW is very straightforward as a game. It's super shallow in a good way. So oftentimes but it's very shallow, right? Like World of Warcraft, you run straight and you fight the guy, and the guy either dies or you die, or you can run away. Like WoW is very shallow in that like it's streamlined. It's streamlined. Even classic WoW is streamlined. And there's so much, and I was going to say this when you were talking about the rivalry in 2007, 2006, 2005. WoW always won that because WoW was a better game at that point. World of Warcraft is legendary, especially between 2004 and 2007. And we've seen that with how well classic WoW has held up over the 97 different releases that Blizzard has pushed through the udder of their fucking cash cow milking machine. But it's held up every time. It's truly a testament to how well designed that game was, both intentionally and unintentionally. RuneScape, on the other hand, as you pointed out too, it's outdated, or was, but it's also like a weird look at what a game would operate like, this outdated, old, antiquated MMO, if it just kept going for 25 years. And now it's not just that it's outdated, it's been like modernized in the best ways and remains antiquated in the best ways too. And there's this like really interesting like tightrope to walk. Something I wanted to bring up to you, and this is a conversation I had with Mod Rice before I had the conversation that's now on my podcast, now in Fireside. Shout out to Mod Rice. Because him and I jumped into a call on Discord, unrecorded or anything, just to talk about a bunch of stuff like when we first started talking, and we yapped for like 4.5 hours, which is what prompted the Fireside episode. And one of the main like points of conversation for the first like hour was essentially about a grouping system in RuneScape. At that time, I was working on a video about how RuneScape should have a better grouping system, and he was receptive, but also cautious about it. And his main reason for that, and I don't want to put words in his mouth, but as I recall it, his main reason was he wants to take the lightest step forward he can get away with, essentially, right? Like he agrees that right now there's issues with forming groups, with finding clans, with talking to people in the game. It's very obtuse, there's some issues with it, but there should be first a solution tested without implementing an entirely new system as well. And to that, the more I think about it, the more I agree with him, because, and I'm sorry for yapping, but something I really want to touch on with him is essentially like one of my biggest personal like gut instincts for games is keep people playing the game, don't have them go to a wiki. But when you just said like there was this bizarre like relationship between you and your friends and like RuneHQ or Zybez, right? That it almost felt like you are like, to be corny, like you're just like finding like an ancient tome in a library. Half the information is not true. It almost becomes like a game in and of itself to go to the wiki and navigate it and like figure things out on your own. That alone becomes like a third limb on top of the existing game itself. And Mod Rice looks at games in RuneScape, especially in such like a 3-dimensional way, which is why I appreciate having conversations with him, because I never thought about it that way. I never thought about, go to a website to find an answer as a part of the game sometimes too. And there's good sides to that and bad sides to that. I'd love to hear your thoughts on that.
Yeah, for sure. I do want to add one thing that was important to the context of that 2005 and 2006 era RuneScape. It was browser-based. Going to a web page was insanely easy. Back then we didn't have browser tabs, so we did just have a whole new window up. But like, compare that to World of Warcraft, a full screen game in every iteration of it. Finding like switching to a browser is obtuse and annoying in that. In RuneScape, when it was browser based, it was like nothing. It was frankly so easy to do that like it was almost a part of the game. So that's an important addendum there, like in just how differently RuneScape played back then as it is. I like personally when MMOs acknowledge that they are multiplayer, and that sometimes can be controversial with people being like, "No, I like solo content." It's like, "Hey, I love solo content too." That's not even what I'm talking about. Recently, I'm working on a video right now, and I keep thinking of it because I'm hyper fixated on it right now. But Diablo 2 is a very confusing game, especially when its expansion Lord of Destruction came out, which introduced this whole system of runes, which are a bunch of like stones that you can combine in exact orders inside of items to create things called rune words, which then have like special abilities. You're told about like one through a quest. You're told about one of them. And it's like, oh, cool. Then there's like 20 runes. And the order matters. So there's like so much to figure out. I liked that game set you on the path of like, hey, here's one, and it even gives you the runes to make that one rune word. The game's multiplayer. Like, ask, look around, and I enjoy the process of sharing information in multiplayer games like this. I enjoy. You could call it friction. Like, I think friction's a big
I do like the
topic
word.
of discussion right now. If anyone's watched the Greg Street interview on Genghis's channel, which I know you and I have.
Yeah.
Um, Friction comes in good and bad forms, but I do think going out, even if it has to be outside the game, albeit I would prefer that be rare, because I agree, like it shouldn't be your goal to get people to like alt tab as much as possible. But I think it's cool that like there can be systems that, as long as the systems themselves are well designed, that information share is kind of a part of it. That's maybe this is all like a little too pie in the sky too, because things get solved within seconds these days. Like I'm coming from a very like old school perspective, I guess, when like we were all a little bit dumber and younger, so we weren't solving things like min max instantly. But I personally don't mind it, and I can see where Mod Rice would be coming from, where he's like, yeah, you've identified a weak point in the end game, especially for grouping, but like there's a bit of magic in like the friction in finding that group, because it does mean you need to like go out of your comfort zone, like try, like maybe you do need to look at external resources. Not to say it's not a problem, not to say that it's perfect. I agreed with you when you reached out to me to ask about it, actually, when you were making that video, and I think I harped on it before you even told me your position. I was like, there is no end game grouping; it doesn't exist. And I think you look at what World of Warcraft did. You go vanilla, there's none. There's absolutely no form of grouping system. The only way to get people to meet up at a dungeon is to walk there, or if you're lucky enough to have a warlock and 2 other people there, so already 3 out of 5 members of the party at the dungeon, that's the only other way you could like teleport there. That's friction. Like getting the group together and getting to the dungeon is friction, and I enjoy that personally. But it was friction, and it got quality of life away slowly. First in TBC is when you could summon people at meeting stones, so you didn't need a warlock anymore. And then I think in Wrath you get the LFG tool, and then things kind of snowball from there. It kind of snowballs from Wrath, where LFG just meant you didn't have to type to other players really. Like
Yeah,
you
I
could just
really,
look to see it was available.
not a fan of LFG at all. And I want to also clarify, or not clarify, but add on top of like the comment you made about Classic. Like, I am the lack of grouping system in Classic, or I guess the lack of grouping systems, I guess would be maybe, or I'm not sure what the easy way to phrase this would be, but or the correct way to phrase it would be, but there is a grouping system in Classic in that you can invite people to a group and you can see them in your group and you can manage the group and you can make raids, and like that to me is essentially what old school RuneScape needs. The more grouping content that exists in old school, the more relevant content that is grouping related exists in old school as a result of that, because content remains relevant for longer in OSRS. The more use for something like that there is. Like in classic WoW, you have a trade chat in a major city, which is like a group. It's like a giant, for an OSRS player who's never played WoW, it's like a giant friends chat where everyone can see everyone post.
It's hell.
It is hell. But a lot of people there are searching for groups. And the nice thing about that is that you can just click someone's name, message them, hey, I'm a healer, invite me. And then they can just right click your name and invite you to a group. And that's all you need to do. You don't need to be on a specific world. You don't need to be on a, next to them. You don't need to be in a specific tiny little region or section of the game with a notice board. You can just get invited. And like that, and it works like that for every single piece of grouping content. It's not like Chambers of Zarek, where you need to be in a friends chat, or like TOB, where you need to be next to a notice board. Same with TOA, or like Next, we have to be on the appropriate world. Like everything is standardized, even back in 2004, back before the quality of life, a lot of the stuff, as you pointed out. So like, I agree with Rice and a couple of the other developers I spoke with, like, and with you most likely here too, where tread lightly in regard to how you fix things, because the insane solution would be a LFG system like in Wrath, right? Like, oh yeah, just get paired with random people, just do your thing, just do it, go in, have fun. Like, yeah, that would destroy any and all socialization, right? And it would also force Jagex to make the raids easier and the grouping content easier to facilitate randomized groups. So it would be a disaster. So like there is a fine line to walk, much like with referring to wikis and external websites and external discords. Like for grouping, to me just does not work. Every single time I've had to learn a boss through external like discords and trying to beg people to do it with me, it's been miserable, and I did not enjoy it a single time. Like I didn't like it in Tob, I didn't like it in Cox, I'm not liking it in Next. I hate all of it. It sucked. Every time it sucked. I don't see any value in it. Point blank. I'm sorry for people who disagreed with my grouping video, but I do see value in doing your own research in regard to like finding something out about the game. Like you can get lost in the OSRS wiki and learn so much. And there is a tangible element of the game that's present when you're not even playing the game. And there is something cool there. And again, not to go way even crazier and more fucking ponderous and philosophical about it for a moment, but I didn't make this connection with Mod Rice brought this up, so I'm making this connection to you, Idyl, and you're going to be, I want to hear your thoughts on this and people listening too. So one of my favorite books of all time is called Pale Fire. This is a book written by Nabokov, I'm sure prolific Russian writer. Now he's dead, obviously, but he's a postmodernist and a modernist writer. And Pale Fire is a novel that is framed like a poem, and then there's like a postscript written by a fictional, it's a poem written by a fictional author, poet, and then a postscript written by his friend analyzing the poem that this fictional author wrote. It's a very bizarre concept. And as you read the book, you read the poem, and then you read the analysis of the poem after the fact, you are forced to essentially go line by line. You're swapping between the analysis and the poem itself. And this book is considered the foundational, like the first ever demonstration of what became a hyperlink, like they would use on computers 40 years after this poem came, or this book came out. And the process of going back and forth, and that physical process, is such a unique way to read a novel and to read and to engage with it, almost like a game. And you're doing your own analysis on top of the one that exists in the book itself. And it sounds crazy, but that description of engaging with RuneScape, both in game and out, kind of gives me that same vibe. I don't know if that made any sense.
I mean, no, I get it. When you said Nabokov, is he? Sorry, I'm not very well read, but I heard that name. Is he the guy who wrote Lolita?
Yeah, he is. Shout out.
Nice.
Shout out to Nabokov.
Shout out Minecraft YouTubers. Once again.
Oh yeah, true. Yeah, if anybody's read any Nabokov, they've probably read Lolita, right? Very controversial book, but honestly, controversial for, in my opinion, very silly reasons, because that book is very clearly not written. Anyway, that's a whole different thing.
Yeah.
Yes.
Let's talk about
let's talk about Lolita for a moment. Okay. I just want let's clarify with Lolita for a second. Okay. Because maybe we'll get a comment about this. Lolita, very, very famous novel. His most famous novel. And it was so famous and so well selling that he got to retire and just spend the rest of his life writing after that. So shout out to writers everywhere who are able to do that. But essentially the book is about, it's written in the first person from the perspective of a essentially a pedophile, this guy named Humbert, as he falls in love with a young girl named Lolita. That's what he calls her. That's not her real name. And objectifies her, and essentially goes on to manipulate and assault this young woman by marrying her mother. It's a really fucked up book, just FYI. But also, because it's written in the first person, he's not representing himself as fucked up. So people have often like read or heard about the book and assumed like, oh my God, this author loves, abusing children. No, the point is that the book is supposed to be about like an unreliable narrator who is essentially like the worst, most despicable person imaginable. But because your only perspective of him is through his own mind's eye, that's what creates so much dissonance between his actions and his justifications for those actions. I just want to. This has been a really weird episode of Fireside.
And now you see everyone who wasn't in on the joke. Now you get my Minecraft YouTubers joke.
Because they're all, say it together now, pedophiles. No,
French.
Yes. That's what I meant.
The main character's French, by the way. I'm pretty sure.
I believe so. Humbert. Yeah, maybe. I've read this book in my first year of undergrad, guys. So it's been a while, but I do remember his name because it's a name. Humbert is specifically invented, according to Nabokov himself, to come off like the biggest douchebag imaginable. And there was not a single douchebag more. You can't come up with a name that sounds more like a douchebag than someone with two first names that are identical being his first and last name. Does that make any sense?
Yeah. No, I mean, that makes perfect sense to me. There's a guy who won American Idol back like 10 years ago whose name was Philip Phillips.
Yeah, that sucks. I hate that guy.
Yeah. What an asshole. The worst part is he definitely wasn't born that. I hope he wasn't. Sorry if he was.
That was a conscious choice he made, and that makes it even worse.
God. Dude, Hey, Philip Phillips, if you're listening to this, I'm sorry, man. I don't know you like that. I shouldn't be making fun of your names. So
we don't want to refer you in the same light as Humbert from the novel Lolita, about an old man who manipulates an underage girl, right? We don't want to associate the American Idol winner with that.
Right. Well, I mean, for all we know, I go to his Wikipedia page right now, and he has a controversy section, and then he's fair game.
Philip Phillips, known for winning American Idol and also being a Minecraft YouTuber. You're like, no. Okay.
This is gonna be, dude. What are you gonna title? What are you gonna title this one? Idol on Minecraft YouTubers.
Lolita, Minecraft YouTubers. Oh, and a little bit of RuneScape here and there.
This is what you get for bringing up books to me, because like, what am I going to talk about if you bring up a book? Like, come on, I'm gonna go straight to this.
Yeah.
To talk about the Pale Fire comparison, though, I guess what you mean is like the experience of the book involves like what a lot of people would call a tedious old school alt tabbing. It's just like it's alt tabbing back and forth in the book between the windows you have up, the epilogue and the main poem. I do like agree that there are times where this thing that in a vacuum seems really unideal, like really stupid to have be part of your game, where why would you possibly want people to be going back and forth between a forum page, like if you're using Wowhead, for example? And I do think there are times when that is a unique and fun part of the MMO experience. Like that will never be good in a single player game unless you're doing some like real niche experience, like some really niche like meta game kind of deal. It would be bad then, but when MMOs are about other people and sharing experiences and knowledge with other people, I think there is something to using external like websites, because you don't want the MMO to have to host a forum in game or something. Like now we're bloating the game itself.
And it's also just like it's like an active agency. Like you are making the conscious choice to put in that effort to learn more and to do that extra like physical, I guess you could say, research. And when you do like invest that extra amount of time and then find that answer, whether it's in game or out of the game, it's like this aha moment, right? You're like, oh my God, like I am making that connection one-to-one. And I guess the part of it that exists out of the game and in the game, that maybe the part that has some level of like connection for people, is that now you are not playing the game, but you're still engaging with the game. And that alone might create some kind of weird psychological connection that has some level of value. Maybe I'm not a games theorist, not officially anyway, but maybe there is some level of value there. And it's that like tactile feedback loop that old school RuneScape does better than every MMO. In my that I've played personally, right? Just the I like right now, fun fact, I am doing blood runes in Arceus. I'm leveling up my rune crafting because I'm trying to max my account. And there's this process you do as and everybody who's been unfortunate enough to do runecraft, where you're gathering the essences and then you're imbuing them on an altar. And then once they're imbued, you use those essences on a chisel. And you can either do that once and it slowly chips away and your whole inventory, over the course of like a minute and a half, or you can kind of spam click both those items together, like the essence on the chisel or the chisel on the essence over and over and over and over and over again, very, very fast. And that idea of doing it it's a tactile, like one-to-one action. There's something satisfying about doing that. There's a satisfying click that happens there that old school RuneScape is really, really good at selling. I don't know if that makes any sense. Like that process, that very tactile click that happens when you do something in old school RuneScape and it has a direct output in the game itself. Does that make any sense? A lot of games don't really do that well, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I think, and apologies to people who are listening for more general MMO discussion, because I'm just going to bounce right back to World of Warcraft here, specifically Classic. I think those moments are fewer for sure in Classic, but I remember the first time I was playing Classic, and I was playing truly blind, like never stepped foot in any World of Warcraft version before. Not retail, didn't play back in the day, but I was playing on my Night Elf Rogue, and I was decently far in for a new player. I was like level 20. And it was for the first time I had managed to take on 3 mobs at one time by finally understanding how my toolkit worked. And anyone who's played World of Warcraft will tell you, if there's one thing that game does well, it's combat, man. Like, yeah. It feels so smooth and so good. Even the 2004 version of the game, like, had it down. And like you said, we're like, you get that like really like that like nice feeling when you're like almost rhythmically clicking to crush your essence, or like RuneScape has it all over the place because the tick system makes the game a rhythm-based game, and it gets really satisfying when you learn how to use that in any encounter, combat, skilling, or otherwise. I like the dopamine rush I got from that in Classic felt really good, or even now as like someone who's like seen pretty much the entirety of the vanilla world over and over and over, like I still get like dopamine from like figuring out how to correctly like route some quests together. Like the best MMOs are ones that have those moments where it's like you can use the mechanics of the game in a way that will like click and feel really satisfying, and it should feel satisfying hopefully on a repeatable basis. Like figuring out how like crushing the essence in one tick versus just letting it happen, it might be like a pretty that's a cool choice I can make right now. Dopamine, I just figured out I could do that. But then like every time you do it, maybe for like the first 5 times, you'll be excited, and then you'll start just kind of like letting it do its thing because you're like, wait, this is supposed to be the AFK rune crafting train. Why am I doing this?
No, but I definitely agree with you, especially when it comes to Classic. Like I think I love both Classic and Retail WoW's combat system. I think Retail WoW has a lot of, maybe Midnight will change this and it'll become worse in Midnight, but Retail WoW has a lot of depth to its combat system, which is really fun to engage with. Classic WoW, on the other hand, has less like outward rotational depth, but there are parts, and I will say this as a Hunter main in Classic, that's my favorite class in Classic, and it's also probably the only class I really like in Classic WoW, but I love the Hunter in Classic WoW. Like the Hunter in Classic WoW, it's not that I just like Hunter and I'm like whatever about all the other classes. The Hunter in Classic WoW is probably my favorite class ever made in any MMO ever. Like there's just something about Hunter, down to just the sounds and like the pet management that you engage with, that is so satisfying for the very same reasons that you just highlighted, like that management aspect, that like one-to-one tactile feeling of doing something. Maybe to people that haven't played Classic, I can really briefly try to like tell you why. But like Classic combat in WoW is a lot slower paced than retail. Retail WoW, which is like the modern version, is super fast paced. Like you have like 30 abilities, 20 abilities, and you are just like you're playing a piano. Like, you know what I mean? You're playing a fast-paced piano song. I don't know much about piano. You are going very quickly, and with Classic, things are you still have a lot of abilities, but most of your abilities are utility and situational,
Yeah.
and you're really kind of seeing your character auto attack more. You click and you watch them attack like you would in RuneScape on a base on the speed based on your weapon that you have equipped. And with hunters, that's your ranged weapon, usually your bow, your gun, or your crossbow. And each bow, each gun, each crossbow has its own unique attack speed between 2 seconds per attack to 4 seconds per attack, let's just say. And because there's this gameplay system of like weaving your abilities between your auto attacks, there's this conscious decision made by you to like you can move while you're on that like quote unquote tick cooldown or second based cooldown you would be before your next auto attack, or like you weave an ability before your next auto attack because auto attacks become so important, and that incentivizes the difference, or at least highlights the differences between different weapons that fundamentally change the way you play, because you can move less with a faster weapon and move slower with a slow or more with a slower weapon, but you have to prioritize not lose out on those attacks. Like there's so much depth out of the simplicity in a very same way that there's a lot of depth in OSRS. And on top of that, you're also micromanaging your pet, which I had bound to my my mouse scroll wheel. So when I scrolled it forward, the pet would go at the target and attack them. If I scrolled backwards, it would retreat back next to me. And I would like have all these like keybinds I would use to like micromanage my pet alongside doing that activity of managing my auto attacks and making sure I'm not missing them. There was something so like flow state and satisfying about doing that while kiting enemies in the game, or doing your or in the open world, or doing your dire maul tribute runs. It was like just such a fucking vibe. The Hunter in Classic was such a vibe.
I think no game truly, and like I'm including old school RuneScape in this, no game has gotten me into a flow state better than Classic World of Warcraft has. And for me, the moment like that you're describing actually was similarly like weaving. I was leveling a warrior for the first time, and it was the second class I ever got to 60 was a warrior. For the record, if you're new to Classic and you're like, oh, I'm gonna do like Classic hardcore, let me roll warrior, don't play a different class. Warrior doesn't get good until like 40. But I was hamstring weaving. Hamstring, for those of you who don't know, is an ability that just it slows the movement speed of whatever you're fighting. So that means you can kind of like RuneScape. If we're gonna keep comparing to RuneScape, you know how you do like 1 or 2 to 1 at like God Wars bosses by hitting, stepping under, hitting. So you only get hit once for every 2 hits you deliver. Hamstring kiting is very similar. You can hamstring, slow the movement speed, you hit and you run away from them because now you're faster, and you're basically limiting it to a 1-to-1 because most monsters are going to be able to hit you more than you can hit them in Classic WoW. Just the nature of the game. It's such a satisfying system. Totally wasn't intended. Kind of my favorite part about it, by the way. My favorite part about all these old games is like all these amazing deep systems that I'm like, they didn't mean for that. Like they did not design for this to happen. But it's like it's awesome. It's a beautiful part of the game. I've often called Classic combat just like almost turn based. It is so slow, but I like it. You can like plot out every single one of those like utility abilities. If you're going to do a big pull, you have so much time to think it through and to execute it. There's a reason 60-year-olds play this game, man. It's beautiful.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that what you just highlighted is also why Classic Plus is going to be terrible. Don't quote me on that. Maybe it'll be really good and I'll be wrong and they'll make it great. But the fact that the best parts about Classic and the OG WoW were all unintended emergent systems is not a bad thing. That's actually applies the same way to old school RuneScape. You know, most of the best parts of OSRS were emergent, but the difference is that one developer embraced that emergence and the other one continued to ignore it and or patch it out over and over again. And after 20 years of patching out every single cool emergent behavior and hyper curating how players engage with your game. For balance, for competitive, for some kind of like, oh, we want to make our MMO competitive because we have a world first race that's going to be, oh no, like, classes, we have to make sure they're all balanced and use and operate the same way. We have to make sure that everything is super, super, super strict and like noosed in, essentially. Like every single thing in the game, especially in retail, feels like it's suffocated by a fucking noose. It has no or a collar, and they're not allowed to move more than a couple inches forward or back at any given time, because like if they do, then it's a lack of balance. And if there's a lack of balance, there's an issue with competitive integrity. And if there's an issue with competitive integrity, then the world first race is compromised. And if the world first race is compromised, I don't know. I guess they care about that. So it's like with Classic, there's so many emergent systems that are so valuable in the game. And what I was hoping, maybe incorrectly, was that the Season of Discovery, which was their Leagues-esque recreation of Classic or re-release of Classic with all kinds of unique elements to it. I was hoping they would not just embrace those things, but like try to design new things like that. And maybe I just didn't play Season of Discovery enough, and someone who listening has, and they can correct me here. But I don't know if Season of Discovery had that, because I spoke to someone who did they did one new raid in Season of Discovery. So imagine if like Leagues had its own bosses, but they're called Echo bosses. So I guess that's a bad example, but you know what I mean? Like
it did.
the Blizzard just made an Echo boss essentially, but a new raid. And for the final patch of Season of Discovery before it finished. And from what I understand, it was pretty good. And the person I spoke to told me that there was this like really, really, really like weird mechanic where there was this like external game item that you can get outside of the raid that like reflected a spell or something. And one of the bosses like charged up a spell and cast it. And if you reflected it at the right time, it like straight up like took 50% of the boss's health off. And I'm like, that's exactly the kind of thing that's awesome, that they definitely didn't intend. And it's really cool. And then the guy was like, yeah, that's why they patched it like a day later. And I'm like, yeah, that makes sense. So yeah.
I have thought a ton about this because I have been thinking. I made a video, I think 2.5 years ago, about why old MMOs were better, and it was like it was specifically saying that, like, yes, there were genuine design things, even if they were unintentional design, like what I talked about with melee weaving. Like Hunter melee weaving was not a design choice they made; it was accidental. I think in that Ghostcrawler interview, they even said they didn't design rotations. They didn't even think rotations were a thing with abilities, which is hilarious to think about, given World of Warcraft is all about rotations. Like there was so much unintentional stuff. These old games, what I think really made them special was it was a bunch of systems, and those systems would interact. The interactions weren't necessarily designed all the time. So like, if I think about a raid encounter, like you just mentioned, where there's a specific item that will expose a weakness in a boss, I can't believe they patched that. That's actually so stupid. But like, let's say that's like it's
if
a
anything,
specifically
just
designed,
nerf it, right? Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. If anything, just like nerf it a little bit, but like make it like a thing that works. Like I'm sorry, Soper didn't mean to cut you off there, but like look at how the OS Res developers handled Araxor, how they nerfed the step under in the final phase, but kept it a mechanic, even though it wasn't intended. And the fight is like twice as good because of that. Sorry, continue.
Yeah, but that's what I mean. Like, if a game is full of systems and those systems inevitably interact, that is how you create depth. Like a developer, and I think modern World of Warcraft is obsessed with control. They're obsessed with having control over the systems at their deepest complexity possible. Whereas with old World of Warcraft, and again, this was not intentional, it just was, there were so many systems, and you could find unique and cool interactions between those systems that you could exploit to make fights easier. And for some guilds, it was the only way to make some of these raids possible early on, because back then Classic was hard. I think if you want an MMO to thrive, it doesn't need to be like old school. It doesn't need to have huge grinds. It doesn't, I think, need to adapt a bit of its philosophy on if systems have an unexpected interaction, how do you handle that? Maybe you do need to nerf it. maybe some you do need to remove. Like some can actually have disastrous consequences. Like unexpected system interaction is how we got Tebow dupes back in the day.
Yeah.
Obviously, you don't want to keep those, but it's really fun when you find a counter that maybe wasn't intended. That all of a sudden, now a mage is super valuable in this specific encounter in a raid because we found out, oh, it's spell steal actually is super great for this encounter. I'm literally just quoting the Gruul encounter from Burning Crusade.
Yeah.
That's an intended mechanic. It's a horrible example for what I'm saying, but still, I just think more developers need to be open to emergent gameplay. And for some reason, especially modern Blizzard is terrified of emergent gameplay, of player-driven gameplay.
Yeah, I agree. I think that there is a yeah, so when it comes to like embracing emergent gameplay, and that is a very important aspect of like having all these interweaving systems, the best way to not have that is just not have really a lot of depth in your MMO, not have any systems that can't be like meticulously edited and curated at a whim, which is, a lot of MMOs do that nowadays, very linear, very straightforward. But games that don't, I think those are oftentimes the most successful types of MMOs. When someone says like older MMOs were better, I don't think they really mean that from like a gameplay standpoint. They generally mean that in like a system standpoint. I think the biggest like learning curve, not curve, but new point of learning, I would hope a lot of modern MMO developers would embrace or consider is the elements of an older game that still hold up today and why those elements hold up today. And to me, that really does come down, and I know that I love this word, it really comes down to the friction that is worth keeping that was thrown out with the bathwater, right?
I love that word, man.
Yeah, friction is my favorite. And like there was a time now, I'm talking about now, where MMOs just threw out as much friction as possible to make it as easy as possible to do the thing that people want to do as much as possible. And that is the opposite of how MMOs and just RPGs should work. And I always want to clarify this when someone says, why do you hate transmog? Don't you want people to look like how they want to and all this kind of stuff? No. I don't want that. I think that's the opposite of what an RPG should do, right? The last thing you want is to start being exactly who you want to be in an RPG. That is what disincentivizes you to invest in it. And it disincentivizes you to engage with the character arc. You want to be motivated to do something. And I, of course, don't mean that from like a character creation standpoint. Sure, you can do whatever you want, be whoever you want as a character from a character creation standpoint. But when it comes to like wearing whatever you want, no. You shouldn't look cool as soon as you start playing the game. You shouldn't look cool as the coolest guy ever as soon as you hit whatever the max level is. You should strive to get that full set of armor. You should strive to look dope. And I think the coolest looks in WoW, the reason they were always tier sets is because at a certain time in World of Warcraft, tier sets were actually hard to get. So when someone had a full T3 Dreadnought warrior set from Nax, you were like, holy shit, not only does this guy look cool, objectively he looks cool, but he is like one of 10 people on this server who looks like this. Today, anyone looks like anything, anyone transmogs into whatever they want, cosmetic overrides run, that's their gamut now, that's how Blizzard sells now or whatever. But there should be an active you should not be 100% satisfied with the game you're playing if it's an MMO 99% of the time you're playing it. As weird as that sounds, you should always have this like a little bit of dissatisfaction, not too much, but a little bit, where you're constantly trying to push yourself to achieve that last bit of satisfaction, right?
So,
the game, yeah.
Sorry to cut you off.
No, I was done.
But like, I obviously, because like, you and I get a little echo chambery with each other sometimes.
Yeah.
Because I once again agree on almost everything you're saying. I want to touch on the transmog thing very briefly, because I have said for so long that people are like, cosmetic MTX are fine. And not all transmog are cosmetic MTX, to be fair. Transmog, you could actually just like in World of Warcraft, half of the transmog is going out and collecting the actual gear so you can use it as a transmog. I agree. It drives me nuts because one of my favorite things in any multiplayer game, and I remember having this moment when I first played Path of Exile, of seeing someone in this badass armor. And I was like, and I'm wearing Path of Exile's early armor, Path of Exile 1 I'm talking about here, is so ugly. It's so ugly. It's unbelievably ugly. And I remember seeing that. I'm like, oh, now I'm motivated. I found out later that was a paid set. And actually, a
Yeah.
lot of the late game armor in PoE does not look nearly as good as the paid sets, which is
Yeah.
why, oh God, do I hate cosmetic MTX, because it makes the design incentive negative to make the actual achievable gear look good when you have to sell the actual good looking gear. So I hate it for that reason. I hate transmog for a similar reason, where I'm like, I love seeing someone have something, and I'm like, whoa, one day my character can look at that, and like I like that it's far away. I like when I play classic World of Warcraft, I'm level 15, I go to Stormwind and I see someone in, like, God forbid they're in the rank 14 set, and I'm like,
Yeah.
whoa, I could have that one day
I
because
can
don't know
smell
any
them from
better.
here. No, I get it. Yeah.
There's something so magical about that, and I don't mean that in a nostalgic way. I think that's the Path of Exile thing was 3 years ago for me. That I'm like the same person as I was 3 years ago. It's still so present, and I know I'm in the minority on that, unfortunately, with
I had
Translog
the same.
especially.
I'll say it right now. 2 years ago, I had the exact same experience in RuneScape. Like in my OG popular RuneScape WoW, I quit WoW, now I'm old school RuneScape guy video. The uh I there were two like come to Jesus moments that I've had in gaming in the past like decade, and I really felt like I'm too old now to have this like come to Jesus, like this is why I love video games moments
Yeah.
nowadays. But I'm not, clearly, because both of them happened within the past like 3 or 4 years. The first one was Elden Ring, which is my favorite game of all time for those who aren't aware, even though I say it in like every video. And my second one was old school RuneScape, where I played an MMO, and for the first time ever, I was having that like childhood experience again, playing a video game where I did not want to log off, where I was going to bed only thinking about it. My girlfriend hated me, and like I'm just sitting, I'm like talking to her, and she doesn't know what the fuck I'm saying. But I'm like, I am so enthralled by this game, and on the topic of armor sets and weapons, I vividly remember getting a Slayer task. I think I want to say it was what's her face, the blue girl, what's her name,
Connor?
Konar. Yeah, I don't know, I forgot her name. Konar. I was getting a Slayer task, and some guy was getting it there, and I vividly remember what he was wearing. He was wearing Torva chest, Torva legs, prims, the Hydra Slayer helmet, and the Soul Reaper axe. And that's, to this day, that's probably my favorite like look in the game. It looks so cool. If anybody wants to like envision that, it looks so cool. And I saw that, I'm like, I want that. I really want that. And to this day, the only thing that makes me want to go to next, other than the ZCB, is to look like that guy. Because I have my Hydra helmet, I have my Soul Reaper axe. I don't have prims anymore because I turned them into Avernix. But all I need is Torva, like, and I will be able to look like that one guy I saw like a year and a half ago now. So shout out to that. And I know for a fact that this is something that's specific to OSRS and specific to, I guess, Classic WoW too, where
I got the feeling in Classic WoW, man. I got that feeling the first time I ever played Classic. It's a thing in that game too.
And nowadays, I would say maybe a lot less so, because you've played it many times, you know what everything looks like, you know what's what, you know how to get it. But back in the day, and even in 2019 when it was re-released, when things felt really fresh, it definitely still had that impression in OSRS, because same back then where I never played it before, I really felt connected to what I was seeing, and I'm really motivated to get it. I think that I think knowing that there's cash shop items, knowing how many of them there are, knowing that what I could be looking at, it might not even be what he's wearing, it just completely annihilates that feeling. And I want to ask you a question, because I just had this conversation with my group Ironman partner, shout out to him, who was also on a Fireside episode a couple weeks back, ranking every single old school RuneScape skill on a tier list. Shout out to everyone that was really upset that we put Hunter into D tier, but it's objectively correct. Sorry. No, but I had this conversation with him, and I want to hear your thoughts on it. We had a conversation about Bonds, where Bonds, none of us like him. We're Iron Men, so who cares? But none of us like Bonds. And the main reason is very obvious. It's pay to win, blah, 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 and it's all true. But the real question is, would you rather have a cosmetic-only cash shop or Bonds in OSRS? And before I tell you my answer, I want to hear your answer.
I mean, dude, I play Iron Man. Like, have all your bonds you want. Like, I hate bonds. I've been very public on my hatred of bonds. I think, holy shit, I can't believe they're in the game. It still blows my mind. I remember the day they were in. I was like, huh? What the? How did this happen? I feel the same way about minigame teleports. But cosmetics would fundamentally like rot the core of old school RuneScape's identity somehow more than bonds, which I understand. Like one of OSRS's core pillars is no microtransactions, but a cosmetic cash shop, it would like pollute the world. I'm sounding so over dramatic about it, but like it's like one of my last little pure little baby boys that doesn't have a cosmetic shop, and I know it would do like so many numbers for them. Like it could really actually do well once the controversy passed. I would take bonds every time. Maybe it's just like a devil I know situation. Like we've had bonds for so long now, and also I play Iron Man, so I don't care. But yeah, it's really not a question for me.
Yeah, I 10 out of 10 times I'm taking bonds over. And yes, because I play Iron Man, sure. But and I also don't like bonds. I think they're bad and they're part of the reason why I play Iron Man. But the reality is that bonds, for as cringe as they are, I think it's relatively rare that someone just straight up wails out on bonds, because if you just conceptually like, how many do you need to buy a single end game piece of gear? Like that is it's generally speaking an untenable cost. So I feel like the people that do go on bonds are generally people that aren't particularly like not to say invested, but aren't particularly like deep into the game from a progression standpoint. Like they might be like level 90s, buy like 3 bonds to afford some Bandos gear or something, and they run around with like without Barrow's gloves because they have 78 quest points and like and Bandos gear. Like that's like, to me, that's the image of the bond buyer. But I also don't really care that much, even though I don't like them. On the other hand, as you pointed out, cosmetics destroy the game fundamentally. You just do not have that experience of, I'm looking at someone and I want to be like that. And not to be over dramatic, but I don't know where I'd be with this game if it had cosmetics. I don't know. I don't know if I'd do a 150-hour Yama grind that I did if I could get a cooler set of armor on a cash shop. And I wouldn't get that set of armor on the cash shop because I don't like cosmetics. I might have just not played the game that much anymore. I really mean that. And I feel like while there would be a controversy of including them and it would die down eventually, I think the game would not only be worse after this, it would also not be as successful after this too. I really feel like there's this unspoken or under-recognized benefit to not having active cosmetic items. And the ones that do exist all have value, like actual value. You look at like ornament kits are a great example of how to do cosmetics in a really cool way, because you get them all from a really impactful activity, from clue scrolls as RNG drops that you can sell on the Grand Exchanger or use as a token of your success, or just from like doing something hard, like a top end raid. You do TOA 500s or whatever the fuck and get your Fang ornament kit. Like it's a sick looking item, right? It's sick. And I cannot imagine how less sick it would be if you could buy a Fang ornament kit that was different than the one that exists in the game right now, but it would look even cooler or as cool from that. I think there's so much content in the game is aspirational and rewards you for that aspiration that would be actively filed down or diluted with the existence of a cash shop that is cosmetic.
Yeah, and I think it also, like, people often forget this. It's what I said about the Path of Exile cash shop. If a cosmetic cash shop exists, the incentive is now to make the items obtainable in the game less cool.
Yep.
Like, that is such a damaging thing for the game. And like, yeah, you still might get some cool stuff attainable in game, but they're going to want to drive people to the cash shop for the coolest stuff. And that sucks. That the coolest stuff should be the hardest to achieve by investing your time and skill into the game. And I just can't imagine that in RuneScape. I think it would suck. I think it'd be.
I see you say that, but I can't imagine on RuneScape because RuneScape 3 exists, and that's an exact 1-to-1 example of what you just outlined happening when I played it in leagues. there's a lot. It's a patchwork of aesthetics in RuneScape 3, and fascinatingly, there is the armor sets that new players engage with, bronze through rune armor, let's just say, dragon included, is all stuck in their updated models from like 2012, 2013. While all the cosmetic cash shop items, armors, and all that kind of stuff, the newer ones are all on, look very nice. And there's even a cosmetic armor set that's supposed to be like reminiscent of an OG like rune trimmed Saradomin rune trimmed armor. And it looks really nice. And you're like, wow, that looks really nice. Anyway, now I'm wearing my 2013 fucking HDORS armor set, and
Yeah.
it does not look very nice. And the existence of a cash shop is why essentially there's this like harsh, unsatisfying dichotomy and disincentive to update the existing armors, which I think they're gonna now with this upcoming year. We can touch on that later. But that's a perfect example of like the stuff you're earning doesn't look good. The stuff that you can pay money for, extra money for on top of your subscription, looks way better. And sometimes it's the same armor set. You're like, what the fuck? Like it's crazy. It's crazy to me.
Yeah, I mean, I had a lot of issues with RuneScape 3, so I couldn't even think about the cash shop. But you said you touch on it later. I'm glad RuneScape 3 is getting at least an attempt to be fixed. But the main thing I'm glad about is exactly what I said to you when you asked me my thoughts on this. We won't stop talking to each other.
Yeah.
I'm just glad to see. I'm not surprised that Jagex is this way, but that developers that actually play their game. And I have been like, classic WoW devs obviously don't play the game anymore. Can't blame them. It's the 5th iteration of Classic at this point, or at least it feels like it. I still love it, but I'm mentally ill. But like, I'll look at like the Midnight pre-patch stuff going on right now, and there's some stuff in it, especially with the few things I read about how they fixed, quote unquote, the classes. Because for those of you who don't know, one of Midnight's the latest WoW expansion's big things is greatly reducing the amount of abilities that each class has available to simplify it, which goes hand in hand with the fact that they're removing add-ons. If you're a RuneScape player, imagine Jagex, you can't play on RuneLite anymore. That's kind of what like Blizzard did recently with retail. And there's like stuff where like there are mage mains. I'm like, dude, does any Blizzard dev play mage? And I'm like, at this point, I'm not sure there's a lot of Blizzard devs who play World of Warcraft. I'm sure there are, because there's so many devs and retail's the much more popular version of the game. But like, when I was watching that RuneScape 3 reveal panel, essentially, I was like, okay, I see like they're going for the easy wins, obviously. Like anyone could have told them what they had to do to start fixing the game. But like you could tell the energy was there, like genuine energy, not like Corpo was off screen with a gun telling you to be excited about the latest like Amazon Studios MMO. And more games need developers who play it, and hopefully because they want to play it, not because they have to play it, so that they can truly understand the issues. Old school RuneScape, obviously, because I guess we're just simping for it in this in this entire fireside, is the gold standard. Every JMod, and I do mean every, plays RuneScape. Some of them are really good at it too. Like, and there's different skill levels, which is important.
Yeah, that's
and
also
you can
very
feel
important.
that.
Yeah.
You can feel that in how the updates come out. I personally am still, and I know I'm unpopular on this one, I'm personally still a little on sailing. Can't deny that they delivered on the design they had, and the launch went so smooth. Like, oh my god, that was incredible. But like, you can tell it was made by people who play the game, because the skill has about 1,000,001 ways to screw it up and to screw up the rest of the game, and like 3 ways to go out successfully. They did that with sailing, and that can only be done with a deep understanding of the game on a bunch of different fronts. And more MMOs need that kind of development team behind them, and I think RuneScape 3's got that, and it excites me for the future of that game.
Yeah, I'm very excited for RuneScape 3's future. It's something I highlighted in my RS3 video that I made, which to this day I think is my favorite video that I've made, is that like there is something there, needs to be chiseled away, kind of needs to be like, imagine RuneScape 3 is a dense essence block on the Arceus Runecraft. I've been here for the past 5 days. And you're all you have to do is you have to imbue it at the Dark Altar and then chisel it away and then run really far and run out of run energy while doing it to the Blood Altar and then use it for Runecraft XP. And right now, we've chiseled the Dark Essence from the Runestone and we are moving to the Dark Altar. And we're at the imbuing process now. And the goal with that, I'm just going to stop the analogy. The point is that, as you pointed out, very talented developers that are super, super passionate about their game. Both of those things are important, very important, because talented people do not give a fuck about things they don't care about, especially when they're artists. It's hard to make talented artists care about stuff they don't care about. That's why they started being artists and not like, accountants or something. And you can tell they're very passionate. You can tell it's on the right track. There's things that I'm very critical of the game, and I am cautious that maybe there's just too much here to pull it off. Maybe they seem confident, so I'm hoping for the best. But there is, when I ask someone like, I do ask people this, like, what would make an old school RuneScape player play RS3? And oftentimes the answer I get from old school RuneScape players is like, well, just give the old combat system back. And I personally can't think of a worse idea than that, because the more that game begins to transform to the model of OSRS, the less it should require any kind of like return of a combat system. The combat system in OSRS is very unique to the game. And by just creating a facsimile of OSRS again, you are now starting to compete with one another and also make just like a slightly worse version of the same game. And
RuneScape 3 has legacy combat, and it's bad, and it has actually too many combat options as it is already, with Revolution and like the full control and the legacy combat system. So one of the big issues with RuneScape 3 is how like bloated the combat system is.
Yeah,
I know
they're doing that. They're fixing.
Yeah,
that,
they addressed fixing combat, and like the fix to combat isn't making it, like you said, making it old school. It's honing in on the identity of what RuneScape 3's combat is and like nailing that, not just get rid of the options and like maybe let's get rid of a few abilities. Because like in my video on RuneScape 3, I harped on the fact that like comparing it to World of Warcraft, where it's like level 1, you have 2 abilities, or 1 usually, not counting your auto attack. And it's like RuneScape level 1, it's like depending on what item you equip, you have like 40. So like they're aware of all this though, which is great. I'm glad they're aware of all this.
And I know that they are removing a lot of abilities, reworking other ones. I know they removed all like the lesser abilities and all that kind of stuff. I think that's generally their goal, is to make things more like necromancy, and which is interesting for me because I don't like necromancy. I know you like necromancy.
Yeah, dude. We ended up on different, where I praised the hell out of necromancy. I was like, this is the best thing they've ever added.
Yeah, I think the big problem, and maybe we can talk about this for a moment, is my big issue with necromancy is essentially just that it feels too insular for a combat style. I mean, it just feels too insular for a skill, quite frankly, where like everything takes place seemingly in the one new city they added for it. And then there's like on rare occasions, you go somewhere else to kill a boss like 2 or 3 times. And that to me is like antithetical to the concept of RuneScape's progression system, where to me, the coolest part about RuneScape's progression system is there's a boss in Frumnik that gives you a ring. There's a boss in fucking Varrock that gives you a flail. I just imagine that's true. There's a boss in fucking near Falador that gives you a necklace, and you have to go all across the world to essentially collect enough items to patchwork together a workable set of gear that you feel more powerful. You're seeing more regions, you're seeing more bosses, but because there's a limited scope, at least that's what it was with the necromancy, you have to repurpose existing bosses for necromancy, and they only ended up adding 2 new ones, one mid-game one end-game one. And then for the armor, which again, patchwork it together like you would with every armor set on RuneScape, other than boss-specific armors, it's just one armor set, and you just upgrade it over and over and over again. And I'm just like, yeah, you could make that argument that, okay, bronze to iron is essentially just a recolor. It's kind of the same armor set, but the method through which you obtain those things is holistically different. It's not the same smith. It's not the same vendor. It's not the same bar. And you don't get the bars from the same location either. So like, to me, the biggest issue I have with necromancy is that the progression system does not feel like RuneScape to me. The combat style actually is really fun to play. It just, the progression, it doesn't feel like RuneScape to me. It's not like, if necromancy was added, and this is how I would do it, sorry for rambling, is it should have been like 7 bosses. Like add like a skeleton necromancer, like a bloated corpse of a Dagonoth that you find near the Dagonoth caves, that you have to resurrect, and he drops like a special necromancy ring. Add like a new like boss at God War's dungeon. Like go, like do the thing, do the RuneScape thing with that. Like add cool, crazy areas in the game that are influenced by this new necro energy all around. You know, like there could be a lot more integration with the overworld. Right now, necromancy has literally 2 armor sets, and it's been 4 years, and both of them have been released 4 years ago. Like, come on, like what the fuck?
I agree with all of that. I think what I really loved necromancy for was how insular it was. It was like an oasis in a game that was so overstimulating that I was like, wow, I can just understand this without having to venture out into the completely like genuinely disgusting world they made of like clashing systems. And like, I know I just said like, oh, it's good to have a bunch of systems. So like, you do have to put some thought. All right. You do have to put like a little bit of thought into system interaction. And I feel like RuneScape 3 at the time that I played it was just thrown in a bunch of stuff thrown into a boiling pot of water, and it turned into this like gross little soup. It was, and necromancy, it wasn't in that soup. Necromancy was like a little bowl of pudding off to the side, and I got to enjoy my pudding without having to think anymore when I had already been thinking too much about RuneScape 3.
No, I listen, that makes sense to me, right? Like, cause yeah, I agree with you. And I said this, I think to, I don't remember if I said it in the video or to one of the developers in private, but I'm like, you know, you could just remove like 60% of the content in this game and it would just be a better game. Like there's just too much stuff in this game right now that no one does. And it just kind of distracts you. It just complete, not like in a fun, like old school RuneScape way where you're distracted by this thing and you're like, oh, I got to get to that thing, to do this thing, to do that thing. It's not like that. It's like distracts you. Like, why the fuck is there a giant tower from 2012 outside of Falador? Like, it doesn't. Like,
yeah, dude, I harped on that specific thing in my video. I was like, what is this?
And then you climb on top, and then there's like the god Armadillo is on top of that tower, and you're just like, what the fuck? And then you like start an early game quest. You're like, an early game quest, and then Sarah Doman comes down,
dude.
Like, you know,
my god, it blew my mind. I was like, what is happening? What game am I playing?
And like, I am glad, first of all, they removed that tower. I don't know if you know, they completely removed that whole stuff. Like, good. That's
really?
Yes,
they did.
Yeah, that whole place feels like a forest now. Like it actually just feels like a forest. Oh my god!
Now. I mean, I have no other option but to take full credit. Like
that, seriously, like
that's all me.
I know there's some developers doing a decluttering of the game world, which it sorely needs. The biggest surprise to me going from old school RuneScape to RuneScape 3 was how small RuneScape 3 felt by comparison, where so much of the newest RS3 content is instanced, like underground or in a fucking portal in the middle of Draenor Village for some reason, that like it feels so instanced. Like even the necromancy city, like that should have been just there should have been a way to get there without just taking a portal. And I don't know how, but that's my imagination. To the point, and because navigation is so fast in RuneScape 3, where there's lodestones everywhere, you're fucking surging and diving, and it's so fast to get anywhere that the world feels so small. While in OSRS, the world just feels so much bigger. Most of the stuff that they're adding in OSRS is overworld environments and areas. So like when you look at the OSRS map, like if anyone plays both games, look at the OSRS map. It looks like 3 times as big, even though I know that's not objectively true. It just looks like that because that's what it feels like. And because just on an overworld sense, it is bigger. So like, I'm glad that, for example, they're doing a continent expansion coming up here, and it's like an overworld thing where you can sail to it, not with a skill, just through Port Sarim. And like, you sail to it and it's a whole zone, kind of like Varlamore or Kourend, and you can walk around and do quests there. And I'm like, that's what the game needs. And this decluttering process is what the game needs. A visual uplift to the standards they set in like 2022 or whenever they started doing their most recent visual style is what the game needs. When I love graphical updates, so when I saw that they completely graphically updated Varrock, Draenor, Edgeville, and Lumbridge in the most recent patch, I logged in. I have not played RuneScape 3 since Leagues. I logged in just to see Lumbridge looks so much better now. It's like actually insane to me. The fact that like it looked less like Lumbridge before, and now they completely graphically uplifted it, like give it a new, just looks way different, but it looks more like OSRS Lumbridge somehow on top of that. So I don't know what kind of dark magic they did there, but walking through Lumbridge was so fucking cool. And then walking to Varrock and then to Draenor, like these locations look so much better now. They look visually cohesive. It's not like you can see an asset from 2007, 2010, 2015, 2018, and 2022 all in the same, frame. That's what the game needs too. I cannot stress enough how important it is to have a visual identity to your game. And RuneScape 3 straight up did not have a visual identity for like years, it seems.
Yeah, I mean, I think RuneScape 3's shortcomings, a lot of them started from them not doing what Modrice said, which is taking the smallest possible step you can.
Good point.
To see what you can get away with. Like, they really wanted to go big and bold everywhere they could. The evolution to combat's the common one you'll point to, but for those of us who are around when we finally moved out of the fourth age that technically old school RuneScape is still in. Hey, my lore buffs, they're liking the video right now. They're like, hell yeah. I thought
it's the fifth age. I thought we're in the fifth age.
Oh, we are in the fifth age. Yeah, we moved to the sixth age, right, in RuneScape 3.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
so
RuneScape,
age,
okay.
The age advanced at some point in RuneScape 3, and like that was a huge lore splash. Yes. And I think that actually was specifically the gods returning to RuneScape.
Yeah,
I could be wrong because that's right. That is
personally.
right when I dropped off of RuneScape for good. Like the technically real version of RuneScape was right when the gods returned. And I'm almost sure that is what launched the sixth age.
Makes sense.
Like it was all about taking these big swings, and I think you'll see the same thing with World of Warcraft too. Like they always want to take the big swing. I think trying to take the big swing is how we got Shadowlands, which was a disaster lore-wise, obviously, because it was not only a big swing, but it was also trying to capitalize on nostalgia by being like, hey, you guys remember Wrath of the Lich King? You guys remember that one? You loved it. And guess what? Arthas is a ball.
Yeah, hell yeah. Balling out, baby.
We brought him back so you could see what it would be like. Jarvis, generate Arthas if he was ball.
Yeah.
And then they put that in the game.
Throw him into the void.
Yeah. And they're like, and by the way, he had no agency.
Because he was a ball. He was just rolling around.
You see this a lot. In any franchise that lives too long, they'll try to take big swings, which is why I think what's led to old school RuneScape's longevity, which, holy crap, it's been 13 years, guys. Like, 13 years. But 13 years into RuneScape's existence, as a game, is when EOC happened. Like, we have already made and destroyed RuneScape in the time old school RuneScape's been around. And it's because they are trying to take these really small steps. And if we bring it back to friction, it's a hesitance to just solve friction. There's a huge emphasis in gaming on quality of life, which is a good thing. You do want to remove friction in a lot of cases. If anyone wants to see what RuneScape was like when I started playing it, you can play the 2004 Scape private server. I played a lot of it last year. I actually love it, but it's rough. And the friction in that game isn't good. Like, it is friction for friction's sake. But like what, again, cite what Modrice said, friction can be necessary to slow down an experience. You look at retail WoW now, where there's like a complete removal of friction. People are just go all the time. They're not going to talk to each other. You queue up for a dungeon, you're insta teleported there. You finish the dungeon, you get your personal loot. There's no rolling for loot. The loot is perfect for your class and spec. So you pretty much don't even need to look at it most of the time, because you'll know going in if it's going to be an upgrade or not, the gear you're going to get. it's like perfectly smooth. There's no friction.
It's like a ball.
Yeah, it's like a ball. It's like Arthas. Maybe, oh my God, Arthas is the perfect embodiment of what I'm talking about. So,
and you have to take this ball and throw it into the void because
you have to take the ball and throw it into the void and add friction back in, because friction is really good for just for slowing things down. I think you look at I'm gonna quote the Genghis interview again. He even pushed back on Ghostcrawler saying buying hunter ammo was annoying, and it's like, well, yeah, but it was also kind of cool. Like,
yeah, it's also like not annoying at all, and it was totally fine, and it was awesome and badass, and like there was a lot of reward space for new kinds of ammo and new kinds of quivers that were never explored. Yeah,
your ammo is class fantasy.
Yes.
it's genuinely just class fantasy. If I want to play an archer in a game, I like going out and getting my ammo and like finding a new arrow, and I'm like, ooh, but I only have. I might only have a certain type of this. This isn't how Classic worked, but RPGs work like that all the time, where it's like, oh, I found a new type of weapon, and I can only use it for X amount of time. If you look at Breath of the Wild, that's friction. All of these are examples of friction. They're things that get in your way from completing like the ideal state of the game, from completing your current goal. But they're important. They can lend to class fantasy. They can slow you down, give you time to socialize in the world, in the case of MMOs. And Jagex, with the old school RuneScape team specifically, has understood that for a long time. And it's why not every piece of friction gets solved. And that's a good thing. That's a really, really good thing. Even if they change their mind later and go back and solve it, it means they at least have like thought about it enough before fundamentally changing the game. Because the really important thing is, and this is why retail WoW will always be retail WoW. And if you like it, that's amazing. If you don't, you probably never will. Adding friction back in or taking away quality of life is so much worse. It is so much worse. You will make everyone angry. People aren't going to come back for that, and people who enjoy your game are going to hate you for putting that back in. So it's like
exactly.
You got to be careful. You only get it. You only get to do it once.
I'm about to make another really stupid comparison. Stop me, okay?
So it's like blood rune crafting.
No, it's even worse, okay? And I might genuinely have to cut this segment away. But friction, like you just pointed out, is a lot easier to add preemptively than take away But quality of life is something you have to add very carefully because it's impossible to take away. And you can't unring that bell. Quality of life is like a tariff, where you can liberally add tariffs whenever you want. Really, and they could be objectively fucking stupid and nonsensical. But you could do that. But the problem is that the second you add tariffs on someone, they're going to do counter tariffs on you. And now to remove tariffs, you need to sit down and do months and months of negotiation with them to also convince them to remove their tariffs against you. So a single action that takes a weekend of asking ChatGPT what to do with the economy might result in months and months and months and months and months of future conversations that are really untenable and difficult to manage and borderline impossible to like resolve and be a net negative for the economy after the fact. So same with quality of life. Where in my
Dude, I just heard you like after that just be like, oh, I wish I didn't start this analogy, because like you were trying to land that plane and you were, because it made sense, but I feel like you were struggling to bring it around town.
Yeah, I'm bringing it back down to the airport. I'm strafing past some of the buildings, and I'm bringing it back down here for a moment. And I want to say that quality of life is so fucking easy to add. Like, that's the thing. Like, sometimes people always think that the way to game develop, right, is just do the thing that players want. And that's like, if game development was like that, it would be the easiest thing on earth. Like, everybody would be a game designer. Oh, well, the player says they want this. Let's fucking add it, I guess. It's not a problem of technology or anything. It's a problem of forethought. Like, if players get everything they want, it's going to be an objectively worse game, which is why in old school RuneScape, the developers tell the players what they can choose, but the developers are not the ones decide like making the thing up or designing it or determining what's added. They just choose between what's added. And that's a good way to do it if you have a great player base like old school RuneScape does, that does have levels of forethought because of a mixed past. But for a game like WoW, like they're just they have a really traumatic experience with Shadowlands, and now every single thing they do is just removing more friction, adding more quality of life, more quality of, and at a certain point, there's just nothing left to the game. It's you. At what point will we be able to open up the world map and just click wherever we want to go and just appear there? That's a slippery slope fallacy, I understand, but like at some like we are getting to a point where literally just the act of needing to go out into the overworld and spend more than 5 minutes doing something is seen like a burden for players. Like people are, well, I've already leveled in Classic, so of course I'll buy a boost. Why are you playing the game, dude? It's a re-release of a re-release. Like why? Like, sorry, that's shit, dude.
People. I had to delete some stuff I posted on Blue Sky about. I got real angry about boosts. I didn't say anything like heinous. I did kind of get a little too spicy about how if you buy boosts, you really you're.
Boosts are like tariffs.
I don't get it. Sorry. Boosts are like crafting blood runes.
Yeah.
It's on the topic of boosts. Here's what I'll say. I understand that this is the re-release of the re-release of Classic, and that you've been, for a lot of people, they've at least been there in 2019 and 2021 for TBC, or they were there in 2004, so that this would be their third time. Who's forcing you? Who's making you do? Oh, but my friends are playing. You had a year to get to 60. Oh, but I really love TV. You had a year to get to 60, and you could play with your friends that whole time. Do you really love the game? Like, what do you really love the game? But what, my friends are already 60. Okay, how long are you gonna play? You're really paying $60. $60, the price of Baldur's Gate 3 on release. Some people would say it's the best game of all time. I've said it's the best game of all time. I would rather buy 4 Baldur's Gate 3s than skip leveling in a game that is literally all about leveling. People will. The discussion around Classic WoW just gets me so upset because they'll talk about how raid logging is the worst phase of World of Warcraft. For those of you who don't know what raid logging is, it literally means logging on basically once a week to do raids because they reset every week, and that's it. And it's considered the worst part of Classic World of Warcraft. So people will be like, that part sucks. And then in the same breath, they'll say the leveling is boring. What do you want? No one's forcing you to play this game. Like, genuinely. And I know the real bad guy here is Blizzard. And that's why I ended up deleting that tweet. Because I was like, I'm being too mean to players here. Because Blizzard is the people who know they can get away with this, and so they're doing it. And I think that's like fundamentally just like evil. You don't have to play Classic. You don't. I get it. You've been there, done that. Don't give Blizzard $60. A lot of people are giving them $120 because they're buying multiple boosts. Just don't. You don't have to play, man. You don't have to play. Like, I'm sorry. At a certain point, it is that simple.
It's just like I agree with you, right? It's for what? Like, you hate Classic, so you don't want to level through it again, but you love TBC. You do want to level through TBC. So you're paying $60 to spend what, like a week leveling through TBC, and then you're gonna raid log for a couple weeks, and then you're gonna quit, and then next patch is gonna come out, and you're gonna raid log for a couple weeks, and you're gonna quit. So I guess like it's just when someone asks me theory-wise, why do you think that Classic Plus might be terrible? And my answer is every single point of feedback that Blizzard has gotten about Classic Plus, to me, in my humble, super humble, I really mean humble because I could be wrong about this, opinion, is the worst feedback humanly imaginable. Like, genuinely the worst feedback. Like if I am wrong and Classic Plus is successful for years, for the next 10 years, doing everything that I think is objectively incorrect about MMOs, then I'll retire, even though with no savings, because genuinely, I cannot imagine Classic Plus releasing with anything even resembling a boost. This includes experience buffs. This includes WoW tokens. Like, these things are detrimental to a classic, as in like an old school version of a game. And at every turn, with every new incarnation of classic, they have filed down the coolest parts about classic. And it's like, for what? What are the player retention metrics that Blizzard is privy to that I'm not privy to? Maybe they can elucidate me here. That showcase that people just want to raid log, and that's all people do, because every single metric that we've seen that we have access to seems to indicate that the second people hit max level, they play less and less and less, and they don't return until a new patch or a new expansion comes out. So are you planning to make expansions for classic WoW? Is that the future vision?
Yeah. Okay, so, and that's where I'll jump in to say, I do genuinely think, and I'm going to add in the same caveat as you, extremely humble opinion, I don't know what they're actually going to do. I've had conversations with people who I would say are much more connected into World of Warcraft Classic specifically than me, but as far as I know, they were not giving me insider information on like if they knew anything.
I think you and I talked to the same person, by the way.
Probably.
Yeah.
The Blizzard is going to deliver what they know how to deliver. We've talked about before, you and me, how making a game last forever, first of all, is hard. Making a game last a long time is really hard to do. And expansions are kind of a proven model of something that doesn't really work in terms of keeping the game's identity for an extended period of time, because expansions necessitate big swing for the fences changes. That's how you go from classic World of Warcraft to what World of Warcraft was in Legion to what World of Warcraft is now, and it's even changed again in Midnight, like I've talked about. Because you need to sell. You need to sell the expansion, right? You need to sell it as something that's worth buying and coming back for. I always hoped, and I think a lot of people felt the same way, that Classic would be more old school RuneScape, not in experience, it shouldn't be old school RuneScape, but in how it is developed in these maybe more sod-like phases where there's incremental content changes every so often, a big splashy new thing, and hopefully it doesn't abandon vertical progression, because WoW should be vertical, and I won't define vertical and horizontal for you guys right now, but the easiest way to think about it is what World of Warcraft feels like and what RuneScape feels like. Horizontal, just as a basis, will take you longer to get through generally, because there should be more to do that doesn't directly make you more powerful. I think we were all hoping it would be a little bit more like that, so that the game experience could be both extended and improved upon. Blizzard has never done that. World of Warcraft has never been that. World of Warcraft has always been a purely vertical, every patch dominates the other, essentially, all the time. And now Blizzard knows how to deliver monetization on that front. Boosts, WoW tokens, things that take advantage of that very design paradigm. I have not seen any evidence from communications from Blizzard, from the people I've talked to, and just from my pessimistic attitude on corporate America, that they won't go that route with Classic Plus. I have not seen a compelling reason to think they will go a direction that would be really drastically different for Blizzard. I hope to God they prove me wrong, and that doesn't mean they have to do it the way I've described, the way you've talked about in your videos on Classic Plus, on how hard it would be to make. They don't have to do it that way, but I hope they do it a different way than they just did with retail. And I don't see it. I'm a real downer about that. I do think they're gonna do what if expansions were different? What if it wasn't TBC after
the Scarlet Enclave expansion, guys? We're not gonna go out to the outer worlds. We're not gonna go to space. We're going to the Scarlet Enclave now, guys. But also, new best in slot gear in every single patch, new best in slot gear with every raid. We're going to tune out every single old raid. We're not going to make you do Molten Core, don't worry. Now you can get the Molten Core expansion boost. You start out with Molten Core Obsidian Blade. Bro, I kill me, man.
Have you always wanted Perditions?
Yeah.
Don't feel like finding a 40-man?
Yeah, this is the Murdition's blade, guys. It's different. It's not the same thing, guys. It's not the same thing. It's just a different color. I don't know.
It's so cool. I'm going to talk about old school RuneScape. I promise you, if there's for some reason a World of Warcraft a person who doesn't play old school RuneScape listening to this, even though all we've done is gush about old school RuneScape, I am not saying World of Warcraft needs to be like old school RuneScape. They don't need to add woodcutting or anything like that, okay? It's so fun to go into old school RuneScape and to be able to still use the content I loved running literally 15 years ago in actual RuneScape, God Wars Dungeon in particular, and have that still be an important progression milestone. If we're talking about Ironman, it's still an important progression milestone for mains too. They're still valuable because of the way the game's been designed, where they're directly a stepping stone to the next tier of gear. It's so fun. It is really, really fun. And I would love to live in a classic world that has continued to evolve and grow and change, where me and my guild might still have a reason to run a molten core. And maybe they do like something interesting, like, ooh, they create a new molten core version that is 20-man scaled instead. Something to just make it like viable for the long term, understanding you not find 40 people who need to do it at that moment in time. That proposition of old content not dying, it being a little bit evergreen, even if it weakens, is so cool because the world of classic WoW is so good. And the content is so good still that it's worth being built on top of and not like demolished to its core and replaced with like a brand new shiny thing.
Yeah. No, I agree. Listen, the world of classic WoW is incredible. In many ways, it's like RuneCraft. No, I think no, it really is amazing. I love Azeroth so much. I really do. I think Gielinor and Azeroth are the two kind of big MMO worlds. There's other worlds out there, Eorzea from FF14. I'm forgetting what the Guild Wars 2 world is called, but it's good too, I guess. But like
Tyria. No,
Tyria,
that's
yes.
just the kingdom. No, that's just the kingdom, isn't it?
Maybe. I did not listen to the lore in that game. But
it is.
It is
got it.
Okay. Tyria, shout out to Tyria.
Shout out Tyria.
Yep. So there's a lot of great MMO worlds out there, and I think Gielinor and Azeroth really excel in what they set out to do. The OG Azeroth, I don't think Azeroth has. I think Azeroth has only gotten more diluted in time, less interesting in time. I know you and I, you were privy to a proper theory-wise crash out in DMs when you and I were talking about the writing in World of Warcraft. But like it's only gotten worse in time. And as you pointed out very accurately, that these developers, they're not at fault for this. It's just, this is how they're onboarded. This is how they're taught. This is the only thing WoW ever was, is how do we make things more streamlined? How do we make things less, with less friction? Like you pointed out the fact of ammo, the hunter ammo thing, right? That's such a great example because that is really not a lot of friction. It's a vendor that exists in every single major city in most town hubs that you can literally stock up for like a week's worth of ammo whenever you want. It is such a minor amount of friction for what is essentially such a flavorful and cool and impactful, decision or just point of progression and just evolution of your class and spec. So like, what would have given me even just a fraction, a marginal bit of confidence that there was a lesson learned from Classic, is seeing Season of Discovery and then seeing them add a new point of friction to the game. Just one. It can be something as stupid as like, well, now there's this vendor item that's really important and has different uses with different professions, and you need to find a way to like aggregate this vendor item through a unique reputation that you need to kill hard elite enemies to do. Totally spitballing, but like just one point of friction. And they had the great opportunity to do that with their rune system, which now for OSRS players, imagine like League relics, but you get them through doing stuff in the game, like quest lines, killing unique bosses, and they unlock like powers for your character. In OSRS, they're like really crazy, cool ways to break the game, the skills, the combat. In World of Warcraft, it's like, what if you had an ability from 2 expansions in the future?
Yeah,
but now
that's like everyone's like, I think a lot of people's retrospective on side is a bit of disappointment in that they had an opportunity to add some really cool stuff, and they did just kind of be like, hey, what if rogues had mutilate? It's like, oh, dude, like, from TBC.
And to be fair, they did do some cool stuff. You know, they did mage healers and stuff. Cool, warlock tanks, very cool there. But yeah, for the most part, it's like, Hunter, what if you had explosive shot? And then they had a kind of a cool idea with explosive shot. Fun. I don't know if you on very launch, explosive shot was an AoE, I believe, for like a couple of weeks on launch, and then they're like, no, and they just made it like the Wrath version, and you're like, oh, okay, so I guess we're just back to making it the same spell we've literally used last year, because Season of Discovery was the year after Wrath. So, but regardless, the one point of friction, and then of course, that we had experience rate buffs to make sure people catch up to the newest epic phase of Season of Discovery. Of course, we had every single rune and relic or whatever the fuck they were called being put on a fucking vendor because they didn't want people out in the open world trying to find groups to find their best in slot runes. No, just put it all on a vendor. Yes, that's exactly how to solve this. Like, it's such like a deflation. It was such a deflation, you know, of like my already meager, disappointed expectations when I read that Wowhead article, where I'm like, that's what you could think of. Like, not enough people are playing Season of Discovery. Not enough people are getting new runes. So we want people to return to Season of Discovery and be able to vendor the items we designed quests for and made unique mobs to kill. Like, we are depreciating content we were working on like 6 months ago. Like, if that is not retail WoW brain, I don't know what is. I really don't.
Yeah, and that is obviously the primary concern for me, is actually seeing what happened to Sod. I do understand, by the way, before anyone says it, that Sod did kind of have a bounce back, but that bounce back doesn't address the fundamental issue we're talking about in a hypothetical Classic Plus.
What do they mean by that bounce? What do you mean by bounce back?
I think people were just like really, really into the Karazhan 10-man and Scarlet Enclave, and just like, I think they started like hone in what the design philosophy of Sod was versus phase 3, especially. Everyone will remember who played it as the disaster phase, where you could get from, at that point, level cap I think was 40 to 50. Like, you could go from level 40 to level 50, and you could do it in 2 hours, I think.
Oh my god, bro! Oh my god, kill me, dude! Like, seriously, that just sounds like the most miserable thing of all time. Like,
I will say, I
destroyed
played
the coolest part about Classic. Sorry.
That was in a system called Nightmare Incursions, which were boring as hell. You got a 5-man group together. You ran around doing these mini quests inside the what was it? The Emerald Nightmare? I think it was. And you get like these repeatable quests. You do them, you get a bunch of gold, you get a bunch of XP. The gold on release was so broken, actually. Like, oh my god, it was insane. But that's what I mean by bounce back. Like, I think they had I don't think they were able to right the ship, because I stopped in phase 4, the phase after that, and I was like, this game just feels so different to me. It just was not working for me anymore after that.
But I do want to just say that, like, the content might have been better, but no one was playing it, and that's why they finished up Sod, right? Like, you can look at the populations on Ironforge.
Oh, yeah,
not talking to you, but no one was playing it. Like, no one returned for Karazhan, no one returned for the new Scarlet Enclave raid. No one cared. So, like,
no.
So the content might have been good, and those people might be 100% correct, but like, no one cared. And clearly there was a issue with that, right? Like, of getting people to care.
Yeah, when I say bounce back, I don't mean to say like a player count bounce back.
Yeah.
I think if you look at the rating chart, phase 3 is a crater. Like, it actually just
probably. I'll double check, but yeah.
But I do want to take just the briefest of moments here, dear listeners and readers, if you printed out the transcript of this video. Horizontal and vertical progression. I talked about it, and I was like, oh, I don't feel like I said enough, because there was a lot of discussion about it maybe like 3 months ago on YouTube, on MMO YouTube, really. And I have heard some things, and theory-wise had heard one of my crash outs about some people, some prominent figures' view of what vertical and horizontal progression mean. And there is this concept for some reason in people's minds that vertical progression means it's easier to play with your friends, like World of Warcraft. Okay, first of all, I'm going to say no. World of Warcraft has catch-up mechanics. Any progression system could have catch-up mechanics, for the record. It makes a lot of sense in a vertical system because catching up is like a one thing to do. It's just make you max level in the World of Warcraft case. But any of them could have could have catch-up systems. I actually think, as a matter of playing with your friends, horizontal's better. I actually don't know how we got to this point where we think vertical would be better for that. Horizontal literally just means there's a variety of things to be done. There is a wider variety of things to do. If my friend started playing old school RuneScape today, and I have my nearly maxed Iron Man, there is something we could do together in that game. There will be something we could do together in that game. I could help him through the Guardians of the Rift quests, and then we could do some Guardians of the Rift.
Temperos, Wintertodt, like all these mini games, they don't have a combat level cap, or skilling bosses, right? Like they're all relevant.
Would it be the best for me? No, but like think about classic World of Warcraft now. Let's assume there's no boost because classic World of Warcraft shouldn't have a boost. I'm level 60. My friend starts today. I can't run dungeons with him. His XP will be nerfed to hell. Like it won't. I actually can't do that stuff with him. I could cheese him through the game by not being in a group and like mob tag for him, but then like I'm cheapening his experience. This is not to say horizontal or vertical is better. I'm just trying to dispel this myth that for some reason a horizontal game means you can't play with your friends if you start later. Like I actually think it's the opposite, and I think it's actually one of the biggest strengths of more horizontal games. It's one of the best parts. So like let's all think about that a little bit harder before we start saying that you can't have a horizontal game if you want to play with your friends.
There's also a lot of people. I do agree with you, and there's also a lot of people that say horizontal progression. That's like it's like Guild Wars 2, right? Like not really though, right? Like horizontal progression can have power progression. Like you can become more powerful in a game and still be horizontal. You just need more systems in the game. Like Guild Wars 2 is in many ways like WoW with a flattened end game, where you're pursuing a lot of utility stuff sometimes, which is cool, like mounts, and then often a lot of cosmetic stuff and just like doing world events and all that kind of stuff for cosmetics, for legendaries and stuff. Very minimal power increases there, which is like WoW, but with no power increase. Quite frankly, it really is similar nowadays to retail WoW in regard to what retail WoW offers. Like there's obviously retail WoW is more PvE. Guild Wars 2 has a more thriving PvP scene. But the point is that like when someone says RuneScape is horizontal, like there are still vertical systems in RuneScape. You're still getting powerful, and you still continue to get powerful way past max level. Like they're going to keep adding endgame content that's going to be better, that's going to drop cooler stuff, that's going to drop more powerful equipment. You will continue to get more powerful in RuneScape. And the reason why I always never can get super invested in a game like Guild Wars 2 is because I think power progression is the most satisfying and most, in some ways, most important part of an RPG. It just needs to be done in tandem with other elements. Like those other elements can be in service of those things, right? Like those skills in RuneScape that everyone at least appreciates, if not loves. The skilling system is the most unique and important identity of old school RuneScape, in my opinion. But like all of those skills fall by the wayside if there's very little to do with them. It just so happens that old school RuneScape has designed a skilling system that not only integrates with combat, but with every other skill. That's I'm finishing a video on that right now, so it's probably gonna be out by the time this talk is out. But like, that is what makes old school RuneScape skilling so cool. That's why they can ask you to spend 250, 300 hours trapping a log. It's because it's not just in service of combat, like every other MMO skills are, and it's not just in service of a cosmetic item, like some flat plain progression MMOs are. It's in service of everything but. Like it's everything else. It's everything in the kitchen sink. Like in this video, I talk about mining, and I don't like mining as a skill, but then I thought about mining and how many uses it has in the world, and it like made me get like a kindred respect for mining, because just think about it. Mining connects with prayer, runecraft, crafting, fletching, magic, smithing, and sailing, There's some I'm forgetting here. Let me look at my skill. But there's like 12 different skills that mining explicitly influences, and half of them don't even relate to combat. They do through proxies, right? So like that alone is what MMO does that. Like genuinely, what MMO does that, right?
Yeah, and so I think it's important also for people to remember if they're ever going to get into this horizontal versus vertical discussion. Uh, RuneScape is not all horizontal, as you talked about. There are linear upgrades, like there are just straight up upgrades, which technically the truest, most purest horizontal game shouldn't really have. But that game would be ass.
Yes.
In the same way, World of Warcraft is not purely vertical. It is super extremely vertical. It is way closer to being vertical. It's like 99% vertical versus RuneScape's like, I would call RuneScape like 80% horizontal, because of the wide variety of things to do. But World of Warcraft, there isn't just combat. There isn't just raiding, Mythic Plus, all that stuff. Like there are professions, and let's just look at Classic. There are professions. Professions are a form of horizontal progression. They are not making your character like directly stronger. Like you're not getting XP towards your character level when you gather. Some games do that. Lord of the Rings Online does that. Crafting and gathering makes your character level go up. WoW doesn't. It's a form of horizontal progression. It's a small one. It's a very, very tiny little boy that it only exists to enhance combat, because that's really all there is. But it's there. They're not black and white. So if people try and use those games as examples of what horizontal progression is, I think they often fall into the trap of attributing everything in those games to being that type of progression. When it's much more interesting to look at how they mix and match. And I think that's what a Classic Plus could do really well, is mix and match. How do we keep that vertical progression there while throwing in some horizontal? Like how do we tone down it from it being like 99%, like I said, to being like 95, 90%? What does that look like? What if we add like four profession slots, and like all of a sudden, whoa, solo self-found mode sounds really interesting now. I have 4 profession slots. Like I could actually do like a self-crafted gear run right now.
Yeah.
Don't get bogged down in the label of horizontal and vertical, and don't get bogged down in what game is what. Think more about how you can take from those systems and how they could be applied to what exists in World of Warcraft in this case specifically, and in RuneScape. Like they play with vertical a lot. It's just they try to be really careful about when something is a linear upgrade. It's just like, I think we get a little too excited about a game being one or the other when it doesn't have to be, and they're not.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I think that the best MMOs are going to be blends of these things. I don't think there's a single MMO that can only be one or the other. From like just even like if a deck was possible, it would not be great, right? As you pointed out, like retail WoW is super vertical, but you could argue, well, filling out your collections for your transmogs, that's a point of progression that is not necessarily vertical.
Yeah.
And I would argue, yeah, I mean, it is. I hate it, but it is. It is certainly that.
Hey, dude, pet battles.
Pet battle.
They're removing pet battles. So
are they sure? Are they removing them?
I'm pretty sure. Hold on.
I think they're just not adding new ones. That's their way to put
it. Okay, it says they're phasing out. World of Warcraft is getting rid of the pet battle system in Midnight. Wait, no, that's a forum post. That might be someone getting a little overdramatic. They're at the very least phasing it out.
Yeah, they're not adding new ones, essentially.
Yeah,
they're keeping what exists, but they're not, which is, I mean, I don't know if that idea was good, but it was definitely their attempt at creating a more horizontal kind of system in WoW. It just wasn't good, maybe. So maybe they can try that again if Blizzard, has the vision to do something like that. But who knows? I think that similarly to all of this is that there needs to be a level of longevity to every progression system. That's a whole different topic, but I really am. I am like an MMO needs to have an audience of people that can't play it all day but want to play it all day. That is like, to me, the perfect like space, and you should be collectively, you should be frustrated that there's so much you want to do, but you just don't have enough time because you have a family, you have friends, you have a boyfriend or girlfriend, like whatever it is. The real life is dragging you from what you really want to do, which is sit on your ass and play this game. That is what a good MMO does. It's not this is like the most toxic thing I'm ever going to say, but it's not this like FF14 bullshit where it's like, we respect your time because you can just not play the game. I swear to God, there was a time in Shadowlands where like every single thing that was positive, that was spoken about in regard to FF14 outside of its storytelling was literally like, well, you don't have to play the game a lot. Like, what a selling point. Like imagine like the game awards are happening and they're advertising a brand new AAA game and the guy comes on screen and is like, guys, good news, you don't gotta play this one. Like, imagine as that was like the fucking selling point of your game is that you just don't want to play it because you can just unsubscribe whenever you want and just read it. Like, that is not a good thing for an MMO. An MMO, unfortunately, some people might say that's the only way because they're busy, they blah blah blah. But like, an MMO needs to always have people online. It needs to. And the only way it does that is by creating an environment where there's a reason to always be online. And there are bad ways to do that, like annoying fucking dailies, hourlies, blah, blah, these retention tactics that are really cringe and no one really likes them that much. Oh, and there's really good ways of doing that. And investing in the good ways and having a vision for the good ways is something that is a lot harder. In my most recent video that's going to be out when this conversation is done, so I can reference it liberally, I do the most intelligent video essay comparison ever. It's never been done before, so buckle in, everybody. I compare it to Dark Souls 1. Truly revolutionary in my thinking here, I know. It has never been done before. But where creating the cross-pollinated systems of a game like OSRS requires a level of like forethought, vision, and genuine like talent, like a kind of creative talent in your soul to envision something like this collectively, really, with all these developers working on it, as opposed to just like making a good combat system, or as opposed to just like making a cool, neat skilling activity. Like recreating the level design of Dark Souls 1. There's a reason why the creator of Dark Souls 1 hasn't been able to do the level of design of Dark Souls 1 since then. It's because there's just this abject difficulty of doing that. And funnily enough, the same exact thing applies to RuneScape. The creator of RuneScape can't do another RuneScape, as we've seen with Brighter Shores.
Yeah.
So like this is the best Dark Souls 1 comparison, guys. Okay, this is not this is because it maps 1-to-1 with what I'm saying. But yeah, so it's like there's this level of difficulty to having so much time, effort, forethought, whatever you want to say, to making each skill just connect so intrinsically with the gameplay loop and with every other skill in the game. I don't even know how to do that, man. That's I can't even wrap my brain around how someone comes up with the skilling system in OSRS. It's such a crazy thing.
Well, it's by accident mostly.
Yeah, exactly.
It's iterated on very meticulously professionally these days, but it's all an accident. That's why we have firemen.
Yeah, true.
The thing, I'm gonna say horizontal again, but just genuinely briefly. That's why I think horizontal elements, not it being the driving force of your game, is important to every single MMO. Because what I love about an MMO, like you said, is when I can't get it out of my freaking head. When I'm like, oh yeah, I can't wait to be able to log in and do that. For Classic WoW, if you're leveling, my favorite part of the game, it's getting on. I was like, man, I can't wait. Like I'm level 32. I'm gonna do like more Latum tonight in Duskwood. It's gonna be so exciting. I might try to solo it. Like, I've never played a priest before, so I'm really excited to solo it on this priest. This is real. That's what I'm doing in Burning Crusade. It's really exciting. But if there's horizontal elements, what I really love is when I can log on and where I'm just like, I'm on my couch. I don't feel like sitting at my desk. I'm going to go on my couch and just going to open my laptop and like, you know what? Like there's this side thing I could be working on right now. Like there's this little side like progress I need to be making. for whatever reason, just because I want to. Horizontal lends itself to that. There are parts of that I feel in classic WoW. Like sometimes I'll log on and I'm like, ooh, I don't really do a dungeon right now. I don't want to go through finding a group. Here's some solo stuff I could do. I just love when there's always a reason for me to want to log in, no matter what mood I'm in. If I feel like pumping, if I feel like really like going crazy, I can get some friends together and run a Chambers of Zarek. Because nothing feels like pumping like running head.
Yeah.
It's that feeling that is like the magic of MMOs, and it's really hard to capture, like you said, but
Yeah.
it's also like if you can, it's lightning in a bottle. And for the love of God, I'm just gonna rant with you on this one. I don't care how many children you have. I don't
True.
care that you work 7 jobs. The cool thing about MMOs, and you know what, you criticize World of Warcraft for this if you want. There's a lot of MMOs that aren't World of Warcraft though, and they don't work like this. You can log on when you can log on, and you can do stuff. And like that's the beauty of it. I understand with strictly speaking World of Warcraft and its like most core gameplay loop, that might not be possible. Like you might not be able to get to like 60 in time or something to raid Molten Core before Molten Core becomes semi-irrelevant. Like I do get that, but with almost any other MMO, and like that includes Guild Wars, that includes RuneScape. The beauty is that like when you find those moments to log in, you can make that little bit of progression that one day leads to that like big goal achievement. Like it's a special feeling, and no other game genre does it as well as MMOs when they're doing them right. So don't be afraid of long grinds. Don't be afraid of them. Embrace them. They're good. They're fun.
There's something to be said about like, and I talk about this a bit in the video, but like, why can't other MMOs capture what OSRS does as well as like some of the more like esoteric creative stuff I just rambled about? And on top of what you were saying there and grinds and stuff, like at the end of the day, it's also a platform issue, like a mechanism issue. I think, again, accidentally, as you pointed out, old school RuneScape really landed on this. RuneScape landed on this like point and click tick system kind of perfectly services menial labor, boring grinds just as well as it services nowadays high-end, incredibly difficult end game content. I don't know if WoW can do a 250-hour woodcutting grind, not just because they don't have systems to give value to that, but because I don't want to be WASDing my way between trees. Yeah. Like, how do you it's that like active like difference of the way you play, but on top of that, it's also the resource requirement of the game too, right? Like you have games like RuneScape that can run on I think I say in my video Game Boy Advance, but then you have even WoW takes more resources. Even WoW requires more. You don't play League of Legends and WoW at the same time, but you can do that easily with RuneScape. And just that platform difference alone is so helpful to having this kind of like duality of gameplay opportunity. And that's why when I say that Classic Plus is impossible or it can't be like OSRS, I really mean that like as a categorical thing. Like you can maybe make a RuneScape-esque system in a microcosm, split to be 1/1000th the length. But the whole reason OSRS content, the economy works like it does, the value of items are recognized as they are, is because it's not 1/1000th of the length, is because they require a lot of time to invest and achieve. The cross-pollination only works as a measure of time. They don't work as like I did the OSRS thing, but in an hour now. That doesn't feel like anything because now you've developed an economy where everyone's going to do that because it takes an hour. While in OSRS, there are things in OSRS that no one wants to fucking do because of how long they take and how grindy and tedious and obnoxious they are. Some of them I hate, like blood shard farming from Vyres, that have the value they do because the people don't do them. Like there's this like level of I call it an economy of time that can only be facilitated by MMOs. And most MMOs have stopped facilitating that economy of time. That's a new term, by the way, guys. I don't even use it in my video. I just made it up right now as we're speaking. So, but I feel like there's a level of truth to that. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I mean, That is true, and that's why I keep saying it when talking about any Classic Plus or anything. Like when I reference RuneScape, I am not saying Classic Plus should be RuneScape because it can't. It cannot be RuneScape, and it should not be RuneScape because, like, yeah, economy of time is like a great way to phrase it, and like, there's also just like, yeah, the fact that RuneScape players, we live in like an inflated economy of time.
Yeah.
we're like an hour to a RuneScape player. Dude, like imagine like I'm like almost maxed, and one day I'll log back into RuneScape and I will be maxed. But like I remember when I was like doing some of the math, I'm like, oh, well, how long is this skill gonna take? And I remember finding out I had to do like 150 hours of ZMI, and I was like, oh, that's not so bad. That's a psychotic thing to think about any investment of 150 hours. Like,
and that's so cool though about OSRS is because of the way you can play it. I'm not ZMI, but of the way you can do certain things in OSRS, that time is really driven by the context surrounding it. Like 150 hours of like Redwoods, you wouldn't ever do that, but 150 hours of Redwoods is like nothing. Like if so, I would rather do 150 hours of Redwoods than like 5 to 10 hours of any kind of retail WoW farm. Not to say retail WoW has any farm that's 5 to 10 hours long, but conceptually speaking, because of the way you could do it, right? Like it's passive in that sense. So like in my worst addictive phase of OSRS, in my worst case scenario, I am at a movie with my girlfriend and I have my bag, my incredible, super beautiful bag that I got as a birthday gift. Shout out. And I have RuneScape in my bag open and I'm doing some stupid ass AFK bullshit on it. And I don't like that I just said that. I don't like that.
That's degenerate. I'm not gonna lie.
But to me, that's what makes a good MMO. Like, am I saying you should do that? No. Am I saying that you should play RuneScape while you're driving a car? No, not to say I do that, but you shouldn't do that. But you should want to, because that's what a good MMO means. You know what I
mean? Just so you guys know, I don't want you to play RuneScape.
No, I'm not. No. You shouldn't. Like, I'm being serious right now. You should not play RuneScape while driving. Of course not. Or even while just being disrupting, whatever. But the game should be good enough that you kind of are like, you want to do that anyway. It's kind of like smoking.
Yeah, like
except it doesn't give you cancer.
I was just about to make a cigarette joke.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Yeah, guys, you should be thinking about that cigarette when you're in that meeting.
Yeah.
And you should be like, your legs should be like shaking, like up and down, like, and like your fingers tapping. Like you're like, oh my God. And you're like, a little bit of sweat. Yeah. Just like, oh my God. Like, that's so crazy that my friends are like, I could be salvaging right now.
They're doing Tob and you're over here in a meeting listening to Harold. Like,
quit your job. Terrible.
Yeah.
Become a streamer.
Job. It'll work.
It'll work.
Yeah. It'll work. Just reach out to some streamers.
You have to do you have to do it the right way. So first, if I were you, you're a RuneScape player trying to become a streamer, you should first stream World of Warcraft. You'll get like 500 viewers if you like, and that'd be pretty good. All right, so 500 viewers. Then you switch to RuneScape. Money.
And then you switch back to World of Warcraft when the re-release of a new expansion comes out.
I mean, hey, if you want to double dip, I will warn you though. Not to say that every player base isn't like this, but the old school RuneScape player base, they kind of don't like it when you play other games. Like, so just so you know, you might get some hate, but you're a streamer. You're used to it, and also you deserve it. People are saying.
Yeah, people are saying this, and if all does not work, and you're like, I do want a couple mil, politics.
Yes, that is the evolution. A lot of people think Rift, but hey, it's worked for successful streamers too to pivot to politics. So
yeah, and literally just don't even make content. Just react to other people's content.
React to the content. Upload it to your YouTube. Use the same title. Put your face in the thumbnail.
And it's over. That's the part of the title
Plus.
too. Yeah, that's Classic Plus.
That's how you make Classic Plus.
I think, okay, so before we wrap up, I do have a really important question to ask you. And I love asking this question. I think I asked it to you actually on our first thing, if I started doing it at that point. But But this is gonna be a bit multifaceted of a question because we're talking about general MMOs, not just RuneScape, not just WoW. If Classic Plus had to do one thing to like make you excited about it, like one thing, not like it has to do the leveling, it has to do the raids this way, just one thing that Classic Plus could do to make you excited for it, what would it be and why?
It would never happen. If Blizzard genuinely pulled an old school RuneScape team when that launched, and I do genuinely, they promised this when they launched, and I know Bonds eventually came out, a commitment to no boost, no WoW token.
I think they literally said no WoW token when Classic WoW came out. By the way, I think
yeah. Oh, they introduced it, and guess what? I'm almost 100% sure that TBC Anniversary is going to get a WoW token. So,
yeah. Or Wrath Anniversary. Yeah.
So like, I'm not saying I would even trust them, but it would get me excited to hear that from them on Classic Plus. Because with Classic Plus, I'd at least be a little inclined to believe them. Because Classic itself, re-releasing the expansions, like, it all felt like it was turning into slop to a certain extent, a little bit, when we were just like playing re-releases. But with something new, like I would get hopeful again. Like, you've heard me be a real doomer about some stuff on this one, and I apologize for that, by the way. Like I said, this genre needs love if it's ever gonna re-goodify. But if they just came out and said there will never be a cash drop for this, there will never be like a real money transaction in this game, in this version of the game, I would be like, okay, that gets me at least excited to invest my time. I would be a little bit worried. I'd be looking because Blizzard, but I would at least be like, this is something I am excited to try instead of something I feel like I kind of have to try, which is like, that's how I'm going to feel about Classic Plus until we learn some like good stuff about it, hopefully. Like right now, I'm just feeling like Classic Plus is something I'm going to play, but it feels like I'm going to play because I feel like I have to. And I don't want to feel that way. I want to feel like the way we talked about. I want to feel like I need that cigarette.
Yeah. You want to play it while driving.
I want to play Classic WoW will not survive unless they release the mobile version.
Yeah, and I can play it while driving.
And for the record, if you want a much more interesting answer, I think I talked about my 100 level idea
in the
first Fireside, which
is a cool idea.
Was super half-baked, and I haven't thought about it anymore, but it is a great idea, and if Blizzard doesn't do it, they're lighting money on fire.
True. Now I want to say this. I want to use that same exact question, but move it to RuneScape 3.
Ooh, what could RuneScape? So it's tough.
Because you know what they're doing now, right? Like they're overhauling dailies and stuff. So like, ignore those things for a moment, right? Because there's still gonna be issues with the game. So yeah,
like they're doing so much good, and the weird thing is, even with all the good they're doing, I'm still not like, I can't wait to get into RuneScape 3 when they fix that stuff. Because the thing is, I have an itch to play Classic, and I have an itch to play Old School. I don't have an itch to play RuneScape 3. But I guess, it's nothing that new that they'd have to announce. I would have to see the combat system fixed. Assuming, again, this is assuming, like, let's just take their word for it that dailies get reduced and all that. Because, like, playing that game with dailies the way they are now is a non-starter. It's just not going to happen. But if, like, I could see a clip of a streamer trying out the new combat system, and it, like, and not even new, I mean like the revamped combat system more so, and it looks like good, it genuinely looks like something I want to engage with and I want to learn, that would probably get me to log into RuneScape 3, because I love systems that look fun to learn, and RuneScape 3 has very few of those right now, and combat would be the easiest one for me to latch on to, I feel like. Other than that, do everything that's on the roadmap, and then I'll probably try out the next league, and that will get me to start playing it.
Valid. Great answer, honestly. I'm in the same boat. Again, Classic Plus for me would be, I mean, if I had to pick one thing, talk about like either emerging gameplay or some level of like consideration for the itemization of the game, which Blizzard's never going to talk about. So that's a bit of a non-starter. I think that I will play Classic Plus. Everyone is going to be playing Classic Plus. Obviously, it's going to be insanely popular for a bit, and hopefully for longer than just a bit. But I would love to hear an actual like consideration for, what does the itemization of the game look like? How are they learning from it? Are they just doing the retail WoW thing? If I see any level of gear scaling in Classic Plus, I think I'm just not even gonna play the game. There's just no reason to. If they can't at least embrace the weird like itemization of classic, if they don't even understand why that worked the way it did, and why people enjoyed chasing specific items instead of just recreations of the same item 150 times, then I think Blizzard's lost. But I want to believe that they're capable of understanding that, and we'll talk about that. For RuneScape 3, and I essentially said this to my buddy, my group Ironman partner, who we will do a group Ironman at some point in RS3 down the line, hopefully, is obviously do all the stuff on the roadmap. Specifically, the part to me that is very important. I'm not going to start playing until this is the daily system. It just doesn't need to just change. It needs to change in a way where it's actually going to make me want to play the game enough to make me want to play the game. And the second thing being, as you said, the combat system stuff is really good too. But for me, it's a big overhaul of the early and mid game. Right now, just even in leagues, the early and mid game is just really bad in RuneScape 3. It just does not work. It's awful.
Yeah.
It's just a really unfun experience with unfun rewards and unfun progression. If they need to do an overhaul of the early and mid game, which they announced they're doing, and because I don't really care about the end game right now. They're doing that too, but I'm okay with that not being touched as much because I know the end game in RuneScape 3 is good. So I rather, if they can fix up the early and mid game, add new early and mid game bosses, which I know they're doing, like all that kind of stuff, and then change all the daily stuff. And if a new thing, I would add a new thing, much like I would at Classic Plus, a level of consideration for early and mid game itemization. That's not just like equipping the same item, but with bigger stats. I would jump into the game. The current plan right now, hopefully, if all goes well, is like toward the middle or toward the end of the year, is make a group Ironman video or a group Ironman experience and see if I want to make a video about that. So yeah, that's the take there too.
Yeah,
sure.
I mean, I'm excited for RuneScape 3, even as someone who does not have a clear intent on playing it, because I just want more good MMOs, man, and more importantly, I want more good non-seasonal MMOs. And like, I not to start a whole new topic, so I'll just say briefly, if anyone watched Elder Scrolls Online's big reveal, they did kind of a whole overhaul of their game's path forward. I would say it's not really an overhaul of the game necessarily. They are going seasonal based. There's a lot of other good stuff coming with it too, but dude, persistent progression is all I want in MMOs. It's all I want. Please don't go seasonal. And so the fact that we have a game that it seems to be going back to its roots in a lot of ways while keeping the innovation that RuneScape 3 has had is something to be excited for the health of the genre, if nothing else.
I will say, I'll put this on wax right now. I think RuneScape 3 has a higher chance of being good at the end of the year than Classic Plus being good when it launches. But that's with the caveat that that they actually go through with their thing. Because as it stands, I'm certain that at least maybe I'm not certain, but 95% certain that at least the leveling experience in Classic Plus, they're going to touch it up. I think it's going to be pretty great. I want to believe that. Now, the end game, the future, God knows, but I think the leveling is going to be really fun in Classic Plus. With RuneScape 3, it's all about just chiseling it out like an essence block and making sure that you are really imbuing it with something worth making blood runes out of.
I thought you were going to go something like, worth the blood, sweat, and tears or something,
No, I really lost the analogy.
You get a lot of blood, sweat, and tears playing MMOs. Every time I log into Worldcraft and I start leveling, I just start crying.
Yeah. When I do runecraft, that's me 99% of the time. So I get
it. Dude, runecrafting is good. You know what? I'm just going to say, I really like ZMI. I like my little meditative clicking really far away and not having to do anything. I probably AFK longer doing ZMI than people do blood runes, to be honest.
well, I have 100,000 day alt, and I will test that theorem when I get there. When I get 90 runecrafting, that's when I'm going to get through all my Aether Essence. So I'm just about to be 88. And when I get 90, I'm going to go through all my Aether. Then I'm going to run through all my day alt and see how I feel about ZMI. That should get me around 95, I think. And if I like ZMI, then I'll keep doing it, keep mining day alt. If I don't like it, I'll go back to making soul runes, baby, at the dense runestone and Arceus, because those are the two methods that I would do.
Can I just say,
yeah.
Let's wrap this up with I just want to say, if anyone was mad at you for not liking Hunter, look up my stats on RuneScape, ladies and gentlemen. My lowest skill, one of, I think, 5 I don't have maxed, is Hunter, because I hate that skill. And
Hunter
I have
sucks.
mining, agility, and runecrafting all 99. So that should tell you that that skill, it sucks. It's awful.
Yeah,
And
Hunter's the worst.
Don't let anyone tell you it's good.
But hold on, have you heard the legendary counterpoint that you can actually grind Hunter for 25 hours and get a bad version of a prayer pot? They're like, have you heard about the bad version of the prayer pot? I'm like, yes. But also I don't want to ever do that. So thank you.
So I haven't started a new account since that came into the game. So my whole response to that is, what are you, poor?
Like I am like, the problem with Hunter is not the experience rates. It's partly the output, yes, but it's just the training of it is bad. Like the act of Hunter is bad. It's like thieving. No one likes just spam clicking one area and then getting stunned. Like, it's
if anyone wants to know my thoughts on thieving, look at one of the only other skills I don't have maxed yet.
Well, okay, and now I will say, shout out thieving for a second here and say that there's a completely AFK method to max thieving now, which is just the Varlamore pickpocketing. Every minute
I do love those guys. Shout out Varlamore.
That's how I maxed it. I just AFK'd those motherfuckers because it's not like thieving has any other use in the entire game. And mining also has gotten a lot easier to max since, just because of shooting stars and fucking the prayer training method. But beyond that, yeah, I don't know. I have, just before we wrap up, I have rune crafting left. I have 9 levels of prayer, which I'm not worried about because of frost dragons. Agility, I have smithing. Holy shit, that's it. And crafting, but crafting, I'm literally about to be maxed. I'm like 1 level away. So I'm just getting that passively with Karen runecraft. So man, I can't believe it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I have 5. Oh no, 6 because of Hunter. I forgot to mention Hunter. See, that's how much I don't like it.
He doesn't even see it in his skill panel anymore. It just his eyes glass over. He doesn't even see it.
I'm hoping that in a couple days when they have the roadmap reveal, which might have already been revealed by the time people listen to this, that they announce a Hunter skilling boss that they teased as their personal projects or whatever like a year ago. Because that would make me level up Hunter. A Hunter desperately needs a skilling boss. Big Game Hunter from RuneScape 3, shout out, the best training method. So hopefully they do something like that for OSRS. Anyway, Mr. Idyl, thank you so much for joining us on Fireside. It's been a pleasure as always, and I'm sure we're gonna see you again. I'm 100% sure we're gonna see you again, and we're gonna wrap it up again. You're gonna come in and you're gonna talk to us about the modern state of affairs with MMOs. Maybe games will be better at that point. Who knows? In a couple months.
Hopefully, by the time we talk next time, there will at least be something tangible to grab onto about Classic Plus, because it drives so much of our conversations, and yet we're all kind of shooting in the dark with it.
Or the Riot MMO, or who knows, the Riot MMO.
Yeah, the Riot MMO that got totally restarted just like last year. Anyway, no, it's always good to talk and air out the grievances a little bit.
Awesome. We'll see you soon then. We'll see you soon.